I'd like to bring this regular council meeting to order. Councillor Christensen, would you provide the land acknowledgement, please?
We acknowledge that the land upon which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Attawandaronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people. We are the beneficiaries of ancient agreements such as the dish with one spoon between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, who agreed to share the abundance of the land through peace, friendship, and mutual respect. The two-row wampum, by which the Haudenosaunee welcomed the settlers and agreed to share the land in mutual respect, and the Treaty of Niagara, considered a fundamental document by First Nations in all future relations and treaties with the British. We recognize that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the land in cooperation and collaboration with the Indigenous peoples, not only for one generation, but for all generations to come. We understand that we have an obligation to learn the lessons of our history, educate ourselves about the experiences of the Indigenous people, and seek opportunities to heal the wounds that will result in reconciliation with our Indigenous sisters and brothers. Many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people live and work in Fort Erie. We stand with all Indigenous people, past and present in support in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We have the good fortune to live in a land of such abundance, diversity, and beauty. Let us be vigilant in protecting Turtle Island.
Thank you very much. Would you all please rise for the invocation?
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you. And the roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Your Worship, Councillor Dubanow is absent this evening and sends his regrets. All other members of council are present. Thank
you. We have an addendum this evening. It includes the addition of two planning reports, PBBS 74-2025, which deals with an amendment for property at 1326 Garrison Road, and PBBS 75-2025, which deals with a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 3331 Dominion Road. And we also have the removal of the minutes of the Environmental Advisory Committee for November the 6th, 2025, due to a lack of quorum. Just have some very brief announcements before we get into the balance of the business. The first has to do with the Enbridge Gas Ontario teamed up with our Fort Erie Fire Department recently. Last week, Enbridge Gas Ontario and the Fort Erie Fire Department announced that they are working together to improve home safety and bring fire and carbon monoxide related deaths down to zero. And that's being done through Enbridge Gas providing our fire department with 252 combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms through the Safety Community Project Zero program, which is a public education campaign through the Fire Marshal's Public Fire Safety Council. Enbridge Gas this year alone has invested $450,000 in Safe Community Project Zero, and over the past 17 years has provided more than 115,000 alarms to Ontario fire departments. When properly installed and maintained, combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms help provide the early warning to safely escape from a house, either that is on fire or has carbon monoxide exposure. I want to thank Enbridge Gas for their generosity with respect to this. This has been a great program, and our fire department has been very instrumental in making our community a safer place for the people who live here. Second item has to do with the Santa Claus Parade, which is coming up on Saturday. It starts at 5 o'clock. The floats are lining up on Lewis Street. The parade route is Gilmore Road, east of that would be Jeanette Street. So I guess it's Jeanette to Gilmore to Central Avenue, north to Jarvis Street, where the parade ends. And I'm advised that those participating, there's only one Santa Claus, there's only one Grinch, and so if you're a spectator, Do not wear a Santa Claus outfit, do not wear a Grinch outfit, but I'm sure everyone will have a great time. The council, some members of council will be participating in the parade, along with the members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee and some town staff. And some members of council will be announcing the booths and being part of the media. So we'll be throwing candy at you as we pass. The third announcement I wanted to make is that the day before that, so on Friday, November the 21st, the coldest night of the year launch is taking place in Niagara Falls at Table Rock. This is the first time that 5 communities, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland, Fort Erie, and Grimsby/West Niagara will be participating together in the launch of this event. The actual coldest night of the year walk takes place on February the 28th next year, 2026. And that will be in each of those various communities. The importance of this is at a time of rising housing instability, and food insecurity, Niagara is doing something unprecedented, and that is the 5 communities working together to support those most vulnerable people in our community. So you'll be hearing more as we get closer and closer to the February the 28th date, but that is a tremendous organization. Funds raised for the Fort Erie Walk will go to the benefit of the Fort Erie Brain Injury Association, and that is a worthy organization for us to be supporting. And then the final announcement is on Saturday, December the 6th, between 1 and 6 p.m., Frosty, the Christmas horse, will be at the place for photographs with children, and there will be donations of, you can make donations of food, you can drop them off there, but then on the Frosty website, there is a list of locations in town where food can be dropped off between now and then. And so that's, again, December the 6th, that's a Saturday, from 1 to 6 p.m. at the place. Frosty will be there, Santa will be there, Mrs. Claus will be there, the mayor will be there as well. So if you have children, they'd love it. Okay, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? There being none, we have a public meeting scheduled for December the 1st, 2025, 6 p.m. here in the council chambers, and that's with respect to the proposed increase in building permit fees. That takes us to the regional councillors' report. Good evening, Councillor Encina.
Good evening, Mayor Redekop, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I kept it down to 4 pages tonight.
Well, maybe you'll get through the 4 pages, or maybe not.
As most are aware, our favorite time of the year is upon us, budget season at the region. Regional staff have provided a lot of material regarding the needs and the wants. Preliminary numbers thus far range from 5.4% to a 9.9% levy increase, even though guidance of 3.5 was given. There's a lot of work to be done to bring the budget down, and it may lead to some cuts in services provided by the region. All avenues of savings are on the table, so the next month and a half should prove very interesting. Recycling collection of non-eligible sources is slated to end as of January 1st, 2026. So curbside collection of gray and blue box materials for the non-eligible group will cease. The Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks advised that the Producer Responsibility Organization, and for us it's Circular Materials in our case, are no longer required to collect them, and it is up to the municipalities to deal with the matter if they wish. This means that non-eligible sources, like places of worship, industrial, commercial, and institutional recycling, cannot be collected on the same truck as a residential recycling. During 2025, the service was paid for by the region, which had agreements with Miller Waste Systems and GFL Environmental to continue the service to the end of the year. Properties that fall under the non-eligible category will have to arrange recycling through private service providers or use recycling drop-off depots if they recycle. The Niagara Parks Winter Festival of Lights is now underway with the addition of interactive lights, including a laser show. Niagara Parks will be expanding its adaptive golf program at Legends next year. This will allow individuals who have a physical challenge to play golf. Lessons are provided by Chris Gardner, who won the longest drive competition in the U.S. for physically handicapped individuals. The region has not received anything of substance from the province regarding traffic calming measures now that the cameras have been removed. And I just would like to thank the Town of Fort Erie Affordable Housing Committee for setting up the Attainable Housing Symposium, which was a success. I look forward to seeing everyone at GFest for the review of the film Thinking Beyond the Market on November 26th at 5 p.m. And the town, Mayor Redekop, should be commended for the work that's being done regarding housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Insina, and that was an excellent, concise presentation of what's been going on. We appreciate that. Okay, that takes us to, oh, I'm sorry, of course, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Through you to Councillor Insignia. In regards to the non-eligible recycling being collected, how much is the region now saving?
By not doing it, I thought it was somewhere in the range of $6 million.
So that saving of $6 million, they're still then anticipating an increase, a significant increase in taxes?
That, for the waste management is only going up, actually, is 0.48% from my
Or
recollection.
it may be going down.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just saying it should be
Yep.
going down if
Yep.
they're saving $6 million. The other one, you mentioned about the cameras. Are you talking about the speed cameras or the red light cameras, all cameras?
Speed cameras,
Speed cameras.
automated speed enforcement
So those that
cameras.
are by the school, like on Central Avenue, will no longer be there?
Right.
Okay. Is there a rationale for that?
The province dictated that through, I forget the bill, that the province just put through that made it illegal.
Do we know if, when it was active, did it accomplish what it had hoped to accomplish, which is reducing speed?
Yes, statistically, yes, it did.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I go on to the most exciting part of the evening? Okay. Oh, adjournment? Yeah. Okay, well, I guess, sorry. For some of us, yeah. Okay, we're very fortunate this evening to have a young celebrity amongst us. It's not often that we have a resident of Fort Erie recognized by the Duke of Edinburgh Award program. But this evening, we do have Lucas Beagle, and over the past year, he, a grade 11 student at Greater Fort Erie Secondary School, has worked extremely hard to earn the bronze level of the Duke of Edinburgh Award. Known in Canada as the Duke of Edinburgh Program Young Canadians Award, was originally developed by His Royal Highness Prince Philip in 1956 to encourage youth to develop into well-rounded, fit, and community-minded adults. Youth from Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and over 120 countries worldwide, aged 14 to 25, have participated in the international program since its inception. Bronze is the entry-level award, and the highest standard is gold. The gold level award is usually presented by a member of the royal family as a guest of the Governor-General at Rideau Hall in Ottawa. And we're hoping that you'll end up at the gold level. Lucas is a sergeant in the Fort Erie Air Cadets. He's used his love of aviation and his desire to improve his community as a springboard to complete the bronze level. Participants must log a minimum number of hours of community service, fitness, and skill over a 6-month period. His final challenge was planning, pre-training, and executing an outdoor 2-day overnight adventure known as an expedition. He brushed up on his land navigation, map reading, first aid, bushcraft, leadership, and teamwork. He credits the award with improving his self-confidence, problem-solving, time management, organization, and goal-setting skills. He's been encouraging the younger, active, and energetic members of 337 Allen Trope Squadron of the Air Cadets to consider attempting the award once they reach age 14. Sergeant Beagle is currently working on his silver level and is looking forward to being invited to Toronto to receive the award from the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario in the not-too-distant future. And with Sergeant Beagle is it Captain Harry Scully from the Air Cadets, and the certificate, which I will hand to Sergeant Beagle shortly, states, Lucas Beagle has achieved the bronze standard of Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, August 2025, and it's signed by His Royal Highness, the Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh. So, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I need your money. There's a special pin that comes with this award, and rather than have me wound Sergeant Beagle, I'm going to let his mother do that.
My pleasure.
I want to be in the photo.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Beside your son.
He's awful tall, isn't he?
The next presentation is to the Friends of the Fort Erie Library. And this is an organization that in its current form was founded in 2014. I have to say that there was a Friends of the Library in the late 80s. It was involved in fundraising for the original automation program at the library. And then over the years, I think it kind of dissipated, and so now we've got a new group that's been very active over the last 11 years. And they've had an unwavering commitment to supporting the cultural and educational mission of the library, our Fort Erie Public Library. They've been instrumental in expanding library programs, enhancing the library collections, and improving facilities for all of its patrons. Most recently, the Friends contributed $10,000 towards the Fort Erie Public Library's operating budget, but overall, since its inception, it has donated over $100,000, and that is a significant sum of money in a community our size for one institution. There is an official proclamation that we will be entertaining during the course of our meeting, but it's later on in the meeting, and I'm going to suggest that when we pass that, I can deliver the actual proclamation to the library. But before we get there, I did want to make a presentation of congratulations, a certificate to the president of your club. And I just wanted to go through the names of the members of the Friends of the Library, if you don't mind, because you should be recognized for the things that you're doing in our community. They are Susan Jacobs, Carolyn Sobalski, Bev Goodman, Amy Roebuck, Jude Campbell, Ann McLaughlin, Linda Lowry, Diane Fleming, Ralph Snyder, Lynn Kamagi, Anna Sitars, Sandy McDermott, and Tamara Kozel. So if you, Councillor Christensen, would assist me, we'll provide a certificate, And the certificate that I'm going to be giving to the president, Susan Jacobs, says, "The Municipal Council of the Town of Fort Erie, on behalf of the residents, hereby recognizes and congratulates the volunteers of the Friends of the Fort Erie Public Library for their unwavering commitment and support for the cultural and educational mission of the Fort Erie Public Library, and for their financial contribution of $10,000 towards the programs, initiatives, and resources, and their cumulative contribution of $100,000 since its inception in 2014. So, Councillor Christensen? I'll give you this, and I'll take this. Yes, please proceed, Susan.
Okay. I am deeply humbled and honored to stand before you tonight to accept this recognition on behalf of the Friends of the Fort Erie Public Library. First, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Town Council for this incredible honor. This recognition is a statement not only to the effort of the Friends, but also to the overwhelming generosity of our entire community. I would like to give credit to our dedicated Friends volunteers. It is your unwavering commitment to the Friends and our shared passion for the Fort Erie libraries that has brought us to this wonderful milestone. I also want to thank every single person who donated, whether it was $1 or $1,000. Your passion and commitment to our library and to lifelong learning made reaching this extraordinary $100,000 milestone possible. Through our dedicated efforts, the Friends of the Fort Erie Public Library play an important role in fostering a strong connection between the library and the community. We are excited about the future and our continued partnership with the town to ensure that our library remains a vibrant, diverse, and inclusive hub for everyone. Thank you once again for this recognition.
Thank you very much, and you're more than welcome. And I should point out that the chair of the Fort Erie Public Library Board, Larry Graber, is here as well this evening. Thank you. Okay, and you folks don't have to stay around, although the rest of the evening is going to be very exciting. All right, so we have a couple of public meetings this evening. The first meeting relates to a zoning bylaw amendment for 1326 Garrison Road. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act, and the process will involve a staff member, in this case Daryl Vanderveen, providing council with some background information relative to the application, and then the applicant or the agent on behalf of the applicant will address council. Council members are able to ask questions of both our staff member and the applicant. And then I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to, other than the applicant, support the application. And then I'll ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application or ask members of council questions relative to the application. This is a hybrid meeting, which means that there may be some people who are zooming into this meeting digitally, and I will ask Cole Patton, who is manning the desk just beside Councillor Noyes, if there's anyone in the digital waiting room at those various stages. Before we finalize the public meeting, I'll ask the clerk if there have been any late messages received from any members of the public or agencies, and following that, typically the meeting would be concluded, and then we would move to the information report, which is on our agenda. So we're going to start, Mr. Vanderveen. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Redekop, members of council, members of the public who may be in attendance. So this public meeting is for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment on 1326 Garrison Road. The owner is 2447911 Ontario Inc. The principal is Emmett Cara, and the applicant/agent is Urban and Environmental Management Inc., who is Greg Terrace. The applicant is requesting a zoning bylaw amendment to recognize the vehicle sales and rental establishment and to permit a new eating establishment with a drive-through, a Harvey's. This application is proposing to rezone the subject lands from automotive service station C4 zone to a site-specific automotive service station C4 zone. The site-specific zoning would permit the vehicle sales and rental establishment and the eating establishment with the drive-through and contain some special provisions to address zoning deficiencies. Notification of the November 17th, 2025 public meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act by placing a public notice sign on the subject property on October 28th, 2025. In addition, all property owners within 120 meters were mailed a notice of public meeting on October 28th, 2025. The public notice was also uploaded to the town's website. This slide shows a timeline of the development application process. So town staff originally held a pre-consultation meeting with the applicant on September 12th, 2024. The application was deemed complete on August 15th, 2025. A public information open house meeting was held on October 2nd, 2025 in the atrium of Town Hall. And the statutory public meeting and information report is this evening, November 17th, 2025. In accordance with Bill 109, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is subject to a 90-day processing and review timeline. The clock starts the date that the application is deemed complete, which was August 15th, 2025, and will stop the day when council makes a decision on the application. Today marks day 80 of the 90-day time frame. This is an aerial photograph of the subject lands as well as the surrounding area. The subject lands are located in the urban boundary in the Spears High Point Secondary Plan area in the town of Fort Erie. The subject lands are a corner lot located on the northeast corner of Garrison Road and Pettit Road. The site is approximately 0.53 hectares in area with 72.5 meters of lot frontage along Garrison Road. There are a variety of commercial uses that exist on the subject lands, including an automotive service station, a gasoline bar, a propane refueling tank, a motor vehicle repair shop, and a vehicle sales and rental establishment. Two existing buildings, one associated with the vehicle sales and rental establishment and one that was formerly a motor vehicle repair shop, are proposed to be demolished to accommodate the proposed development. The automotive service shop, gasoline bar, and propane refueling station are proposed to remain. The existing vehicle sales and rental establishment use would be relocated to an office within the existing automotive service station. The following summarizes the land uses surrounding the subject property. To the north, residential, consisting of single detached dwellings along Pettit Road and vacant residential land associated with the Spears Garden Draft Plan and Subdivision. To the east, commercial, a motor vehicle repair shop, and commercial plazas. To the south, commercial, a professional office, and vacant commercial land and residential. And to the west, residential, vacant wooded residential land, and single detached dwellings. The site design proposes an eating establishment with a drive-through located in the northeast corner of the site. The proposed eating establishment, a Harvey's, is 160 square meters in floor area and will have an internal seating capacity of 26 persons. 7 parking spots are provided for the Harvey's, including 2 accessible spaces near the front entrance, 1 type A and 1 type B. 1 loading space is also provided near the rear of the eating establishment. In total, 45 parking spaces are provided on site, and 11 of those are excess parking spaces. The drive-through entrance is near Pettit Road on the west side of the subject lands and outlets near Garrison Road to the south. There is space for stacking of 16 vehicles in the drive-through. Zoning relief is required for the drive-through as it is located less than 10 meters from a residential use on an abutting lot. They're proposing a 3-meter setback to residential land north of the subject lands. Again, to reiterate, to facilitate the development, 2 existing buildings, one associated with the vehicle sales and another with a motor vehicle repair shop, are proposed to be demolished. The automotive service station, which includes the convenience store and another motor vehicle repair shop, the gasoline bar, gasoline pumps, and a diesel pump, and the propane refueling tank are proposed to remain. So just to illustrate all the uses on the site, the one in the middle there is the automotive service station that contains the convenience store and motor vehicle repair shop. To the south of it is the gasoline bar and canopy. To the east of that is the diesel pump. To the west of the automotive service station is the propane refueling tank. To the north of the automotive service station is the existing vehicle sales establishment building, which is proposed to be demolished. To the east of that is an existing motor vehicle repair shop, which is also proposed to be demolished. And on the east side of the site is the proposed eating establishment Harvey's. In the very northwest corner of the site is the drive-through entrance. About halfway down, distance pretty considerably from the residential uses, is the order board. And on the very south end of the site is the drive-through exit. The subject lands are designated commercial in the town's current official plan. There are no natural heritage features on the subject lands. The subject lands are also not within an area identified as having archaeological potential in the official plan. The subject lands are zoned Automotive Service Station C4 zone. This zoning bylaw amendment application is proposing to change the zoning to a site-specific Automotive Service Station zone with special provisions for the following. 1, to permit a vehicle sales and rental establishment. 2, to permit an eating establishment with a drive-through. 3, to permit a reduced setback of a drive-through to a residential use on an adjacent lot. And 4, to permit driveway accesses that do not comply with the minimum and maximum widths for driveway accesses in a commercial zone. So again, this is the site plan, and just to illustrate the zoning deficiencies. Currently, all of the driveway entrances into the site do not comply with the town zoning bylaw and would require zoning relief. And the reduced setback from a drive-through to a residential zone, they're proposing 3 meters from the 10-meter minimum requirement. These are elevations of the proposed restaurant. These are a rendering of the proposed restaurant. A public information open house was held in person in the atrium at Town Hall on October 2nd, 2025, from 5 to 5:30 p.m. for this proposal. All property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands were nailed notice of the information open house by staff on September 18th, 2025. The meeting was attended by the agent, the owner, and town staff. Approximately 5 members of the public attended the information open house meeting. The following concerns were raised at the information open house meeting: traffic impacts to pedestrian safety, light emissions and noise, and requests for fencing along the northern property line. So just to speak to those briefly, it is noted that the driveway entrances will be modified to meet town standards, and 1 or more entrances may be closed off at Pettit Road. Comments from infrastructure services indicate that Pettit Road has capacity to handle the additional traffic. It is noted that there is a capital works project scheduled for 2026 to reconstruct Pettit Road and construct a sidewalk. In terms of light emissions and noise, a noise impact study will be required at the site plan control stage. Any recommended mitigation measures can be integrated into the site plan design, and light emission will be reviewed through a photometric plan. Finally, for fencing, the applicant has indicated that they are willing to install a fence. This can be required as part of the site plan control stage. This is looking north into the site from Garrison Road. That's the motor vehicle repair shop that's proposed to come down, and roughly where the new Harvey's and drive-through would be located. This is also looking north from Garrison Road. This would be the automotive service station with a convenience store and a motor vehicle repair shop, as well as the gas bar and canopy. This is looking east from Pettit Road. This is towards the propane refueling tank. You could also see the gas bar, canopy, and convenience store. And this is looking east from Pettit Road into the rear of the site. This is roughly where the entrance to the drive-through would be, and the building in the middle there, which is where the vehicle sales is occurring now, is proposed to be demolished. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van. Any members have any questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Could you go to slide 13? I think it's 13. Yeah, that slide. So and you mentioned that there are possibly some of the driveways or entrances may be closed. Which ones are you proposing? Any along this stretch?
Through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Noyes, I think that remains to be determined. We would be working with our counterparts in infrastructure services to determine the best course of action there. We would like to bring the entrances up to the standards in the zoning bylaw. However, due to the road being reconstructed, it would have to work in concert with the planned roadworks as well. So I think some of that needs to be determined.
Thank you for that. I see that there's a left-hand turning lane from Garrison to Pettit, I guess it would be. And driving on that road a number of times, many times there is a backup, like people are waiting for the left-hand turn lane from the lights. So how do you propose someone who is going east would get through without backing traffic up right past the lights? Because they wouldn't be able to turn if there's people waiting to turn left, going the opposite direction.
Yeah, through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Noyes, I think we would look at that more closely at the site plan control stage. However, people heading east could turn left onto Pettit Road and then turn right into the site. Ideally, the entrances would be consolidated, so that would be a little bit easier than it is now.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that there's going to be a fence. The fence would basically be separating the drive-through from the residential property?
Through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Noyes, yes, that is correct.
And how is that fence going to stop the noise and the emissions?
Through Mayor Redekop, Councillor Noyes, we will be requiring a noise impact assessment, or study, sorry, at the site plan control stage, but it would typically involve board-on-board, closed construction wood fencing, as well as other screening measures, such as like landscaping, to try and mitigate any noise impacts.
Is there any room for landscaping?
Through Mayor Redekop, Councillor Noyes, we would review that in more detail, but there is some room for landscaping. The applicant could also revise the plan a little to accommodate more landscaped area if they're willing to do so.
Okay. I'll wait for the report to come up, but thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Vanderveen, for your presentation. A couple of questions. I noticed in the region's requirement that a daylight triangle corner of Pettit and Garrison is required at 10 meters. I believe the site plan shows 6 meters currently. Just wondering for your confirmation that there is the availability to have that 10 meters set back there.
Through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Flagg, yes, I believe so. We'd be working with the region at the site plan control stage to ensure that they do get their daylighting triangle that they require.
If I may continue.
You may.
Also on the site plan agreement, it says that where the back drive-through is, that it's subject to a right-of-way described in a, and I can't make out quite the INST number, but can you expand on that a little bit for me?
Through Mayor Redekop, Councillor Flagg, I'm sorry, is that shown on the site plan? Or?
It is on the site plan.
Okay. Take a look.
So you'll see at the top, it says 12 asphalt parking spots, existing used car dealership. If you zoom in just above that, it says subject to a right-of-way as defined.
Okay, through Mayor Redekop, Councillor Flagg, I'll look into that further and speak to that in the recommendation report.
Thank you. And one more, if I may.
Yes.
The diesel pumps, it would appear to me that it looks like maybe it might be just a car or something showing there going into that diesel pump, but most often that's going to be a truck with a trailer or anything like that. Can we make sure that there is sufficient distance between the back of the vehicle that would be utilizing that diesel pump there and the exit to the drive-through? It would just appear to me, and utilizing that facility quite frequently, I think there could be some conflict where that diesel pump is and the exit to the drive-through.
Yeah, through Mayor Redekop, Councillor Flagg, yeah, it's definitely a good point. Perhaps the applicant can speak to how that's going to work a little bit more detail, but we would be reviewing that at the site plan control stage.
I appreciate those, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Van der Veen, I'm wondering whether consideration in your analysis has been given to the ongoing development to the west and north, residential development that will have an impact on the actual traffic on Pettit Road in the future.
Through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Christensen, the applicant's traffic study did factor in those other developments. Obviously, I'm not a traffic expert, so I can't provide a professional opinion on that. If you had any detailed questions, I would maybe direct them to our acting director, Mr. Peasel.
Mr. Peasel, could you?
Okay, this is, that you can do that when we get to the report.
Okay.
Oh.
Any other questions, Councillor Christensen?
No.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Van der Veen, you've mentioned several times that some of these concerns that appear on the site plan and through the proposal will be dealt with at the site plan control stage. So explain the process to me then. We're expected to deal with a zoning application, which may have some issues that need to be dealt with at the site plan control, which may not be able to be overcome by the developer, and yet we've rezoned the property. So what is the process here?
To Mayor Redekop, I would say at this stage it's more high level. Does council wish to see this type of use here, and to recognize the vehicle sales establishment? There is some ability to regulate things like the entrance widths and whatnot in the number of entrances through the zoning. Through initial comments we received from infrastructure services, they would prefer to do that at the site plan control stage. I think because it would be in concert with the planned roadworks on Pettit Road and they don't want to have any impacts there. There is also some ability to have the applicant revise the plan if council wishes to provide them with feedback in advance of the recommendation report coming forward. And we could, again, include some zoning parameters as part of the zoning bylaw amendment if council wishes to do so.
Yeah, just should I and the members of council feel a little uncomfortable that we're being asked to move a proposal forward like a zoning change before we even know whether the site plan control issues can be addressed adequately? I mean, we're being asked to move something forward that we're not even confident maybe makes sense, at least in my mind. Should we be uncomfortable about this whole process?
To Mayor Redekop, I mean, yeah, we're definitely willing to hear any feedback council has and working with the applicant to see if they can revise it accordingly to try and address as much as we can at the zoning stage prior to site plan control.
I must confess that I had trouble finding 45 parking spaces on that site plan. I couldn't come up with more than 41. But I did have a question about the vehicle sales parking requirement. There's supposed to be 15 parking spaces for the vehicle sales and rental aspect of this development.
Yeah, so to clarify that, Mayor Redekop, the applicant is requesting basically 15 spots. They do have 11 excess parking spaces on site, so if they were to proceed with 15 sort of dedicated parking spots to the vehicle sales, that's shown on the site plan there, hatched out in gray, as well as 6 of those are intended for parking for the motor vehicle repair shop. So those are all accommodated as part of the required parking, if you will, and on top of that, there's 11 excess parking spaces.
And where are the 11, looking at that site plan, where are the 11 excess spaces?
Essentially, you'd have those parking spaces up in the top right. Looks like about 10 there. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. There's a bunch of parking alongside the west side of the Harveys, and there's actually 3 parking spaces available on the west side of the automotive service station, just north of the propane refueling tank, as well as 2 accessible parking spaces in front of the restaurant.
Right. And do we have any idea on how many vehicles might be for sale at any given time?
I would recommend asking if the applicant can clarify that. Again, we're willing to hear from council if there's desire to restrict that use a little bit. That's something we can consider as well.
Restrict what use?
The amount of parking spaces dedicated to vehicle sales.
But we're still dealing with the zoning amendment, whether we approve that or don't approve that eventually.
Right.
So in connection with public notification, there's a geographic area within which people who live in that area are given notification of the proposed zoning amendment. Do you have any idea how many residences would have been within that area?
To be Redekop, not off the top of my head, but I could certainly follow up with you on that. We do keep the notification lists in the event something goes to OLT, so we do have that information.
And would you agree with me that more than just the people in that little area will be affected by this type of zoning amendment?
To Redekop, I would say it is adding a new use to the site, so it will add some additional traffic, yes, in the area.
So anybody that uses Garrison Road, anybody that uses Pettit Road, anybody that uses Daytona Road, anybody that lives within that area, that catchment area, or travels through that area would be affected by a change on this site, would they not? If
That's
there's more
correct.
traffic. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Van der Veen. Okay, now we'll go to the proponent or the proponent's agent, and I guess that would be Mr. Terrace. Good evening.
Good evening.
I know you, Mr. Terrace.
This is Mr. Kara, the owner of the property.
Mr. Kara.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Your Worship and Council. Mr. Van der Veen is, as usual, staff covers most of what we hope to present this evening, so we'll try to keep it brief and just try to touch on some of the comments that we've already heard, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions. I'll try to go through the presentation here briefly, and I'll just skip over anything. Sorry, what do I press here to move it forward?
Oh, just the arrow keys on the keyboard.
Okay, thanks. Oops. Oh, I screwed it up, Barney. There we are. Just as some background, this application has had 2 pre-consultation meetings. We started the process back in late 2020 and had a pre-consultation meeting in early 2021. Because of the COVID pandemic that occurred shortly thereafter, the project was put on hold. And so then subsequent, following that, then the owner again decided to restart it. So we were advised by staff and we agreed that we'd have a new pre-consultation meeting. We made some adjustments to the plan based on the original comments we received during the first pre-consultation meeting. So the plan that's before you is sort of as a result of some of the comments we heard, and then we represented this at the second pre-consultation meeting, which was in September of 2024. I think most of these things were touched on by Mr. Van der Veen. So as you can see, here is the property as he's shown with the 2 buildings that are going to be removed. And you've seen these pictures already, so I will skip over them, and you've seen this as well. I won't go over again the details, but what we're trying to do, there's really 2 parts here. There's the site-specific revisions to add the restaurant and drive-through, and so these are uses that are currently not permitted. There's also long-standing uses that have been on the property, and that's the car dealerships, which has been at that location for at least 20 to 25 years. There's been a car dealership there, but so we were just hoping through this process to recognize that existing use as part of this zoning bylaw amendment. and then a number of the longstanding entrance and exit conditions that are at the property to recognize them and to accept them as existing situations. Again, these are the elevation, the different drawings that are with the typical Harveys, what they look like. This would be the floor plan for the layout of the Harveys. And then, as mentioned, we did have a public open house, and I think Mr. Vanderveen's covered most of those things. One of the things that he didn't touch on, maybe I can follow up, is there were a number of comments, not so much related to the development, but the situation with the subdivision and behind on this development, and concerns about that development in not proceeding, and the condition of the property and things. So we did hear a lot of that at the public open house. Oops, that might be it. Okay. So just a couple things that I'd like to touch on relative to some of the questions. We received the staff report, and unfortunately we just have had a chance this morning to see it because it wasn't posted till late Friday. So we're at a bit of a disadvantage to be able to respond to a lot of the comments in there. But one of the things that did jump out was there are some new requirements that are being asked relative to a functional servicing report. And we did 2 pre-consultations, the second one September. I was always leaning to that being part of the site plan process. So, we haven't done a functional servicing report. Our feedback from staff that were with the town at that time was that services were sufficient and it could be dealt with at site plan. We're a little bit concerned about the recommendation now that we should be doing a functional servicing report and the third-party modeling and a holding provision on the zoning. Had we known a year ago or more that we needed that, we'd have done that and not been now delayed for further on moving this project forward. The other point is the region requirement for the daylight triangle. Back in 2007, I believe, or 2009, there was a committee of adjustment hearing, and that was to allow the new canopy that's there, and the daylight triangle was dealt with at that time, and it's part of the approved conditions for the property, and it says that the owner provide an undertaking to grant to the region a 4.5 by 4.5 meter daylighting triangle at the corner of Garrison and Pettit. So that we're not changing anything at that corner, we're not changing that part of the development, so there's already, this has been dealt with, so now for the region to want a 10 by 10 meter daylighting triangle on something that's previously been approved, we're also somewhat concerned about. We have also, since we submitted this in the original pre-consultation and submitted our application many months ago, have kind of been looking at the development and the flow of traffic through the property. And one of the things sort of we're thinking is that we don't even require the 16 drive-through spots. If I can maybe go to the site plan. Oops, I don't know if I can put that back up. There we go. So you'll notice the entrance to the site, to the drive-through lane starts just at Pettit Road. We will work with staff and the town if this was suitable, but we were thinking of eliminating the first 6 drive-through lanes so that we'd bring the drive-through up at about where number 10 car is starting. So that would still give us 10 spots for the drive-through, which are required. We can then move the parking where it says the 12 parking spaces. We can move those up a little bit, and we may be able to have a double row of parking in the middle of the property, so which give us another 7 to 8 more parking spaces, which would help in terms of the parking for the used car sales and the existing operations, plus have sufficient parking for Harveys. One of the things about a Harvey's restaurant is it's not typical of your McDonald's where you just pull up and you order a Big Mac, no onions, and they throw it in a bag and you grab it. I mean, a Harvey's is more attuned to people going inside and sort of building their hamburgers. So most Harveys don't have a lot of lineup or drive-through traffic. There's more people coming into the restaurant, whether they sit and eat or take it out. So with the 10 drive-through, we're thinking that's going to be more than sufficient for a Harvey's type restaurant for the drive-through. So again, we're thinking of shortening that up to 10 and redesigning that part of the development, which would help in terms of the existing house that's at the north of the property. So we wouldn't have vehicles idling and sitting in a drive-through lane along that part of the property. And we're certainly willing to work with the town, especially on the entrances and exits to Pettit Road. There's a lot of existing entrances that are there because of how the property originally was, previous properties and property lines and stuff like that. So there are a lot of historic entrances to that side of the property, which definitely can be consolidated and tightened up to work with town requirements. I think that's probably enough that I should say, and we're happy to entertain any comments or questions that council has.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terrace. Councillor Noyes?
Thank you, Mayor Redekop, and thank you for your presentation. Now, there's a number of things happening on this site. Are there different owners for everything? Like, is there a different owner for the car sales, a different owner for the repair shop, a different owner for the gas station?
It's all one ownership?
It's a one ownership,
Yeah.
Okay, so,
but then there's different tenants.
okay, but the whole property is owned by one. Thank you. Because you can't kind of share somebody's parking if you don't own it. So if you remove 6 of those cars, okay, so they're coming off of Pettit Road, how would the people who are perhaps number 11, I'm going the other way, know that they're not supposed to go there? Like, how would you reconfigure that so that people would just keep pulling in?
Through your worship. My thought here, and I just was sketching this up today when I saw the report, the staff report. I would look at having through the middle of the property, the main entrance, and then you would come up north to go into the drive-through. We would have where the lane is, we'd move it up, and you would turn left, and it would be a one-way exit. So you could exit that way, so you wouldn't have anybody coming in. So everything would be funneled in through one main exit off of Pettit, and then you would loop, and people could come out and down, so you wouldn't be able to come up that way. It would be designed to block off any two-way traffic.
Okay, you've lost me on about the second sentence.
Okay, so I can use it. So this would be the main way in, and you would go up through here. This would be the entrance to the drive-through. So we'd eliminate all these spots. We would move this parking up closer, like right where the landscape is now. That would be the start of the parking. And then, so there would be an access way here, one way, just going out and down and then out to Pettit Road. And then we would this would move up a little bit here, so we would have a double parking space in this area. I mean, this is just back of a cigarette pack design I was doing this afternoon to figure out a better way to have traffic flow on it.
Okay,
He's
so,
live right here.
your suggestion, if I'm following it correctly, is that you would actually be moving the entrance into the drive-through closer to Garrison Road?
The entrance, no, it would be right in here.
No, off
from
of
Pettit.
Off of Pettit.
From
You gotta
Pettit,
get there.
yes.
Okay, so how much closer to Pettit, to the intersection is that?
Well, now you have an entrance, you have one there.
I
you
thought
have
that was an
some
exit
here.
only.
Here?
Yeah.
It's two-way right now, so there wasn't a lot of design in the entrances and exits at this point.
Okay, but I thought you had said just a few minutes ago that would be an exit-only lane.
What you would do is you would come out this way, you'd continue, oh, sorry. you would continue down through here, and you would exit out in a common exit in this area.
Okay,
So we close this off.
Okay, so pretend I'm driving. How
Mm-hmm.
am I getting, I want to go to Harvey's, and I actually do like Harvey's hamburgers.
So-
How would I, I'm going to go in the drive-through, and I'm on Pettit Road. Where would I turn?
Turn right here,
Okay,
go along here, then you're gonna go right up here to the drive-through.
okay. So how much closer, where I just turned in, is it to the intersection?
You want to know the distance from here to the intersection? Without blowing this up, I can't tell. So there is an entrance here now.
Yeah, but there's not a drive-through now, so
No.
that's the difference. Okay, I guess,
I will say roughly 125 to 130 feet.
okay, 125, 130 feet. Okay, my next question is in regards to what you're asking for is a reduction from 10 meters to 3 meters for the drive-through backing up to the residential area. That's more than, well, that's 60% decrease.
Yes.
If we don't approve that, what happens to this plan?
We'll probably have to look at redesign it in some other way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noyes. Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to visit a little bit about the sidewalks. I'm sure that part of the attraction to this location is the number of students at GFES and how those students can safely travel for their noontime frings that they are going to be looking for. And what exits specifically on Garrison Road will they have to cross to get to whatever sidewalk will be going into Harvey's from? I would hope that there's a sidewalk. I don't currently see something as far as a sidewalk that would go in, but certainly I'm sure that is will be dealt with in the site plan.
Yeah, so there is, Your Worship, through Your Worship, there is a existing sidewalk, so that sidewalk will continue to be there, so that sidewalk would be the access. And then there would be a link from the sidewalk to the actual front of the Harvey's. I think one of the things we have to do is add where the accessible parking is, likely a sidewalk that would go up to the front entrance to the Harvey's. So somewhere in this area here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's one of the things I'm hoping will be added, and and then just addressing the safety concerns with those individuals that are leaving the Harveys, and how all of those young people will be walking and so forth. So I guess my concern is the number of entrances and exits coming on to Garrison, and combining that with the amount of pedestrian traffic there.
Anyone else? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. One question, and before I start, I should mention, it sounds like there's some opportunity for some movement here, which is good, and you're already looking at it. But my question is, the property line to the north, you've mentioned a fence, you've mentioned some landscaping buffer. Is there any interest or consideration with some columnar trees that grow a little bit taller and narrow along that property line, especially in the area of the adjacent property owner?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we just show the 3-meter setback that exists, so that would be about 10 feet to do planting, which should be more than sufficient to add whether some type of plantings in there. The landscape plan, again, was something requested at the site plan stage, so we haven't gone into much detail at all to show what could be shown there.
Okay, and if I may continue just briefly, and when we say planting, a planting could be something rather small that continues to grow at a small height. You would be open to something that grows taller?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Anyone else? Mr. Terrace, the site plan does have two accessible parking spots immediately to the south of the building.
Right.
And
Keep doing that.
so how do they get in? How do the people get into those parking spaces and how do they get out?
The entrance to the parking spaces are on this side here, so you would pull in, if you came in off Garrison, you would be pulling in this way. If you came in from Pettit, it would be through this way here, and then you'd back up.
So you back out.
Yeah, you'd have to back out of the accessible parking space.
And so you'd be navigating traffic potentially coming off of Garrison Road and traffic potentially coming through the drive-through
Drive-through.
and potentially traffic coming
Yeah.
from the gas bar.
Yeah. One of the things we could discuss is whether it would be better to have the accessible spots here, and then it would just be a bit of a crossing in front of the drive-through to get to the main entrance. Might be more appropriate in this area for the accessible parking, but we can look at the different locations for that.
So you've suggested that you could reduce the number of parking spaces in the line because you've indicated that Harvey's customers frequently go in and they make their own
Yeah.
hamburger a beautiful thing,
Yes.
as opposed to drive-through. Do you have enough parking spaces then for the people that would get out of their vehicle, which I'm a big supporter of, as opposed to people going through a drive-through? Do you need more parking spaces for that?
With doing that, we've estimated we can at least get 8 to 10 more parking spaces by utilizing, taking out this lane, which is a lot of roadway, and moving the parking up here, and we can double the parking in this area. Because we have 12 meters between the building and this parking. We would gain another 6 meters here, so we're able to double up the parking on this side. So this way, we could add 8 to 10 more parking spaces. And I think, as Mr. Vanderveen indicated, we already have meet and exceed the requirements for the total property for parking.
Yeah, I'm having difficulty figuring that out because I counted 41 parking spaces, including the ones that I assume you're going to be utilizing for vehicles that are for sale. I couldn't, looking at the site plan, I came up with 41 parking spaces. I didn't include the drive-through parking spaces because...
No, we didn't as well. Yeah.
So I had a total of 41.
Okay.
And
There is, I don't know if you missed it, there's 3 here by the convenience store. And then I think there was 12 to here, 18 across the top, 9, I forget. But I did actually recount all of them today, and there was 45.
yeah, and of the 45, though, some of those are for
dedicated.
vehicles that are going to be for
Yes.
sale.
Yeah.
And how many vehicles typically would be for sale at any given time?
About 10.
About 10. And if sales go up, I suppose you could have more. I mean, the reality is that once a zoning is granted, could have more vehicles for sale. It could be a larger enterprise. I happened to Google this site, and not sure exactly when this photo was taken. Might have been taken earlier this year. 24 vehicles parked on the site the way it is right now, and that's without a restaurant. So I'd be a little concerned about the flow of traffic on this site and the number of parking spaces that you're providing. And in terms of the gas bar, if there were a reduced number of entranceways, what would the flow of traffic for the gas bar be? Like, where would vehicles come in and where would they go out?
I think that one of the things, especially Garrison Road, is we're really hoping there's not a reduced size of the entrances. I mean, the entrance, typically your entrances, as you've identified them in the zoning bylaw, are for all commercial establishments. Gas stations are a little different in terms of their needs for entrances and exits, both because you do get vehicles coming in, whether in this area tourism, they're pulling a boat or pulling a trailer. So this corner location is ideal for a gas bar because there is more room and wider entrances and exits to get in and out. So we really do want to try to maintain at least the most westerly entrance for the gas bar, it makes it more convenient for customers to get in and out of there.
That's the largest one that is more direct
Correct, to
in
the
and out of
gas
the
bars.
gas bar, which creates a problem if you're going to go left, if you're going to go west from this site, and you come in from the north, you're facing south in the gas bar, so you got to somehow maneuver your way back over to Pettit, because I guess you can get on to Garrison Road. If you're going east, you'd have to cross the westbound traffic, so you'd almost have to go back to Pettit to get to the light to be able to make the turn. It's, and you would have service vehicles coming in here as well. I presume that you have vehicles coming in to provide fuel for your gas pumps.
Yeah.
And so what's their typical movement currently?
That is this here, is the, I think is the B train sized trailer that comes here, then the fuel tanks are in this location, then it goes back out onto Garrison Road and continues west, or, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I see the predicament.
Yeah.
You also have service vehicles for the restaurant, which will be coming in, and they'll be unloading someplace. Where would they be unloading?
Fingers here. The loading zone is, I think we have a dedicated loading zone in this area here.
Right. So they would have to cross, so you cross the drive-through lanes in order to get from the vehicle into the restaurant?
Yeah, there's a sidewalk through here, and then a rear entrance, sensitive.
Right.
Through here, and then your rear entrance to the restaurant would be in
Right,
this
so
area.
it's not like a vehicle's pulling up to the back of the building. They're going to have to maneuver.
Yeah.
So if there were reductions in the number of entranceways, particularly on Garrison Road, that creates some serious
Yes.
traffic pattern problems, does it not?
For the existing operation, it does, yes.
And are you familiar with this intersection at all in terms of, I mean, you know that there's a traffic light control there. You familiar with the fact that there's a red light camera there?
Yes.
Do you understand why red light camera would be there?
Yes.
What's your understanding?
People jumping the lights, that's why
Yeah,
we
people running through red lights, and this being apparently a high accident intersection. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that you're aware of that, although it causes me concern. The traffic.
That's why we are choosing Harvey's over anything else, because Harvey's typically are not that busy.
So,
compared-
Mr. Kara, you're a businessman. Don't suggest to us that you're showing up here to put in a commercial enterprise that you don't think is going to do a lot of business. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You're okay. So then in terms of Pettit Road, as Councillor Flagg had indicated, you're going to have students coming from maybe the high school to go to a Harvey's. You also have students coming down Pettit Road from the houses that are there now. Some go to GFES, some go to Garrison Road Elementary School. And we've got some developments going in there. We've got at least 2 already approved, one to the west of Pettit and one to the east. That's going to be more pedestrians. How do you protect the pedestrians from this additional flow of traffic?
I don't know. I mean, you have a controlled intersection that would, people have to stop at some point before getting to the intersection. One of the comments we heard at the public open house was because of the lack of sidewalks along Pettit. So at some point, I'd assume with all these developments, there'll be extension, perhaps even on both sides of Pettit, of sidewalks that would improve the safety of pedestrians.
So the sidewalk would improve safety in the sense that it would get people further off of the road, but they still have to go past, students will still have to go past this property, particularly if they're going to the elementary school or coming from the elementary school. So whether there's a sidewalk or not, they're going to have to navigate vehicles coming in and out of this parcel, correct?
Correct.
And there will be more traffic.
That would be the intent, because we're hoping to make business there
Right,
that
and your
doesn't
traffic,
exist. Yes.
your traffic study says that there will be more traffic in the
Correct.
morning and in the evening, and
Yeah.
presumably throughout the day. And one of the things I think you are required to do is provide an indication that there's a need for this type of commercial use if you're making a rezoning application. Has there been market research done with respect to whether there's a need for this type of restaurant in that area?
So Harvey's did their studies along this area, and they find there is a need for, because all the quick service restaurants are further down on Garrison. There's nothing on this side of the town.
Well, I think just across the street, you've got some restaurants, some pizza places, et cetera. Anyways, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to go to the portion of the meeting, anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application other than the applicant. And if there are none, Mr. Patton, is there anyone in the digital waiting room?
Your Worship, we had one person in there, but when I messaged with them, it seems like they tried to speak, but then they dropped out. So I never.
So now there's no one there? You scared them off.
Maybe so.
Okay, that's not your job. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition or who wishes to raise any matters with members of council with respect to the application, please come forward. And Mr. Patton, can I presume that there's still no one in the digital waiting room? Okay. Mr. Clerk, have we received any late correspondence or communications with respect to this application?
No additional written comments were received, Your Worship. Okay.
So then I'm going to declare this public meeting closed, and we're going to proceed with report PB BS 74-2025. Councillor Christensen, you're moving that?
Yes, Your Worship.
And do we have-
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that Council receives for information purposes report PBBS 74-2025 regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the lands located at 1326 Garrison Road, Fort Erie. Can I get a mover?
Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
I'm finding it hard to follow all the potential changes and make a decision because there's so much. We may be moving the drive-through, which from 16 to 10. We may be moving this over here and maybe moving that over there. That's really hard to visualize exactly what they're actually proposing. And the same thing with the entranceways and stuff. Some of them may be removed, some of them may not be removed. We're going to try. So it's really hard without having some definitive information here about the driveway entrances, about the number of drive-through places, the number of parking spots that's going to affect. I'm having a hard time understanding all that, but I don't think I'm the only one. The other thing too is that they're looking for a change from 10 meters to 3 meters for the setback. I don't think that's terribly fair to the individuals who occupy the residential area. I know that we've had this huge problem in Crystal Beach because that's pretty much what we did in Crystal Beach at another restaurant there, and I think eventually people moved and sold and everything else. It was not very good for them at all, and it was an ongoing problem. And I just see this as being a problem that we're going to get. In regards to, I'm on table 2, and I'm on the page 11 of 22, and I'm not quite sure what it says. Pettit Road, approximately 1 meter. 6.2 driveway distance from intersection. Standard is 7.5 meters. Garrison Road is approximately 17 meters. Pettit Road is 1 meter. What does that mean?
Ms. Dewaria? Or would you like me to have Mr. Vanderveen?
Your Worship, I can try to answer that. When the report says the distance from Pettit Road is 1 meter, because the existing driveway along Pettit Road, that distance, that is a 1 meter distance from the intersection of that driveway.
Okay, that's to the gas station?
That is to the intersection of Pettit and Garrison. Because currently Pettit Road has three intersections. The TIS that came in is basically saying that those 3 entrances should be consolidated into 2. So the report currently outlines that the current intersection is only 1 meter from the current entrance to the site is only 1 meter away from the intersection.
Okay, so that's existing. I'm trying to envision someone trying to turn off a Garrison, they would almost have to turn an immediate right and an immediate right again to get into, to the gas station area. I think that's all the questions for now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will look forward to see what the next generation of this model looks like. As I was sitting here, I also thought about parking, and I think there's probably 6 bays in that garage that's there. And I certainly drop my car off when I go to the garage in the morning and hope for it to be returned in the evening. So I think that when we look at parking spots, we have to accommodate for that business that's going to be there as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Christensen.
It just occurred to me, was there any consideration or has there been any discussion? Much of the concerns we're raising relate to a drive-through, and I know nothing about the restaurant business, but we've been advised by the owner that Harvey's is not doesn't depend on drive-through as much as some of the other fast food type restaurants. Has there been consideration given to not having a drive-through and having it as a restaurant, as a Harvey's restaurant with, easy access?
Ms. Delaria?
Your Worship, through you to the councillor, I don't think we have had that discussion, but it was our understanding that the applicant always wanted to have a drive-through.
Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Christensen?
No, thank you. It just occurred to me that seems to be an issue that should be thought about.
Anyone else? Ms. Delaria, I raised with Mr. Vanderveen the process here where there's an application made for a zoning. There's a bunch of challenges identified by the planners and the infrastructure people, both locally and at the region, and yet we're told that those should be, they can be dealt with at the site plan control stage. That's the process, I understand. Doesn't that put the cart before the horse? I mean, we're being asked to approve a zoning, being made aware of some challenges with respect to what will arise if we were to permit the rezoning. Don't we have this a little backwards? That may not be anybody's fault except the creators of the process.
Your Worship, site plan is a last step in the planning process. It starts with the official plan zoning, and then site plan is more of a technical in nature. And the consolidation of driveways, etc., can be dealt, like all the technical aspects can be dealt at through site plan stage, but it is always staff recommendation to resolve the major issues at the zoning stage. Because like you had said, once the approval has been granted, site plan is just a technical, and then the applicant is, like, we have to approve the site plan. I have never come across an application where the site plan has been declined or denied by its staff because of technical reasons. So it would be staff recommendation, or we would try to resolve all the issues at the zoning stage. And then, so once we are at the site plan stage, it's more technical and the approval is provided to the applicant.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this correct. If ultimately council were to approve the zoning, at the same time we do that, we should be dealing with how many entranceways, what the size of the entranceways will be, what the flow of traffic will be, how many vehicles can be for sale at any given time, that type of thing. We should do that all at the zoning stage?
That would be staff's recommendation.
All right. And then, I don't want to be overly cynical here, but then if we were to approve the rezoning with all those conditions, the applicant can appeal to the OLT, correct?
That option is always there with the applicant, yes.
And argue that we shouldn't be imposing the driveway entrance reductions, I suppose. They could argue that.
Your worship, the reduction in the driveway entrances and the consolidation has been the recommendation of their traffic impact study. So it's not something that staff is recommending. That is a recommendation that came out from their traffic impact study itself.
Even their traffic consultant recognizes the problems with respect to this site.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? I was going to give up the chair to speak to this, but I think I'll just leave it at that and hope that staff is picking up the vibes. I'm going to call the question then with respect to, this is a recommendation report. This moves this forward to the process. Sorry, it's an information report. The next step would be, if this passes, a recommendation report in due course. So all those in favor of receiving the information report? Opposed? That is carried. That takes us to the next public meeting, which is an application for proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 3331 Dominion Road. And we're going to follow the same process. We will hear first from Mr. Vanderveen, and then we will hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent. Then we'll hear from the public, including anybody who might zoom in, and then we'll hear from the clerk. Mr. Vanderveen, back to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vanderveen. Any members of council have any questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just going to go over this list here. Okay, so what they're proposing is to add back-to-back block townhouses, reduce minimum lot area, reduce front yard setback, reduce exterior side setback, reduce rear yard setback, increase building height, reduce landscaped area, reduce distance between buildings on the same lot, increase density, reduce privacy area depth, reduce distance from a building to an internal driveways and parking areas, reduce number of parking spaces, reduce setback of a parking area to a property line, reduce planting strips width, and reduce setbacks to uncover and unenclosed decks. Did I forget anything that they're asking? Because then I'm going to, what we're supposed to be, what council is supposed to be considering when we're thinking about this, when we're supposed to be considering the height and the bulk and the arrangement of buildings and structures to achieve a harmonious design compatible integration with the surrounding area, not negatively impact on lower density residential uses. Do you think this one does that? The other thing council is supposed to just think about when we're approving these things, appropriate open space, including landscaping and buffering to a maximum privacy and minimize the impact of adjacent lower density areas. With all the setbacks and reductions, they're not increasing, they're not even looking at appropriate open space. And I can keep going on about the parking being reduced from 51 to 45. Where's, like, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing all this is what we would like, but it's not even close to what currently exists, and it's not even close to, like, the amount of requirements that they're asking for reduction of this or an increase in that outside the norm is tremendous. They're trying to, like, squish all this stuff into.
Okay, so you're starting to comment on
Okay.
that, and that should be for the report stage.
Okay, then I'll stop, but I think you get the idea.
Thank you, Councillor Noyes. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Couple of questions. One being, one of the maps showing the site plan or proposed site plan shows in the southeast corner a community area. Is that a community area for the community that's being proposed, or is that, can you maybe talk to me about what community area is? Yep. Okay, and how big of an area is that? I wasn't able to really see on the map. Okay, perfect. And then just a couple of other quick questions. In terms of the site plan that's being shown, or the sketch of the survey, how many trees are being proposed on the property? Or is there a tree on the property? I guess that's probably the better question. Is there one? And if so, how many? Perfect. And then just two quick questions. In terms of harmonious fitting in with the neighborhood, I see the rendering show flat roofs on the properties, and I'm just wondering if there's any comments on how that is harmonious with a neighborhood that is gable roofed for the most part.
Through Mayor Redekop to Councillor Lewis.
Yep. Yep. Nope, and I can appreciate that and asking so it becomes part of the report. Last question, Councillor Noyes mentioned a number of different amendments being made where they're asking to come in with less than what is being proposed in our bylaws. But without any of those reductions being given, what would the number of units be in terms of zoning and what could fit on the property with no reductions? I understand why they're asking for reductions, but I'm just wondering if there were none and we were going solely by the bylaw, what would that property hold? Like how big is that box and what would fit in it? Yep. Perfect. Thank you for your presentation.
Anyone else? Mr. Vanderveen, I think this application wins the prize for the most modifications from the zoning that staff is recommending could be utilized. So the current zoning, which provides for 3 single-family dwellings, if there were severances, I presume. Okay, and that would be 1 ADU part of the house that would be built, and then a secondary structure could be put on each lot. So a total of 9 altogether. Right, okay. Right. And you've seen the tree preservation plan?
To Mayor Redekop, yes, I have.
And are there trees on this parcel after these various units are constructed?
To Mayor, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt
If
you.
this were approved?
To Mayor Redekop, to my recollection, I think they're proposing to remove all the trees. Perhaps the applicant can elaborate on that. Again, I would note that it would be subject to tree replantings or compensation as per the town's tree bylaw.
Yeah, I was just wondering, looking at the site plan, I was just wondering where those trees might go if there were going to be any more trees. And there wasn't any reference to sidewalks in the presentation that you made. Are there sidewalks being proposed on Burley from Garrison Road, at least the length of the property here?
To Mayor Redekop, I'd have to check with Infrastructure Services. I did speak with Development Engineering and the road was recently repaved. So I don't think there's anything planned for Burley recently, but I'll confirm that. My understanding though, the development to the east, 3033 Dominion Road, as a condition of approval, they were required to build the sidewalk basically from Burley Road north, across the frontage of the subject lands, across the frontage of their parcel to connect to Spring Estates to the east.
As a matter of policy, do we generally require new developments to install sidewalks along the length of their property, if they don't already exist?
To Mayor Redekop, that's more something we as planners defer to our engineering staff. In this case, I think because 3033 Dominion was first in, that's why it was added as a condition of approval, but we do like to require sidewalks where we can.
Okay, that addresses Dominion, so I'm talking about Burley now. Wouldn't we typically request that there be sidewalks along the frontage of the property? Here it's on Burley.
To Mayor Redekop, I may defer that to Acting Director Peely if he knows. Otherwise, I would have to follow up with our engineering staff.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderveen. So we'll call upon the applicant or the applicant's agent to address council. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
And your name, sir?
Jonathan Binskowski, I'm a planner with Solark and here on behalf of the owners.
Please proceed.
Just waiting for the presentation to come up.
How do you spell your last name?
Oh, it's a long one. B as in boy, ENCZKOWSKI.
Okay, that was close.
The pronunciation would be Benchkovsky, but that just seems to confuse people a lot more. So I stick with it being very phonetic. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so thank you, and I'm going to address the comments because I do believe Mr. Vanderveen did a good job. I do want to just point out really a couple of the impacts that Mrs. Noyes did speak to of setbacks and how that looks on the ground rather than we look at a number, and sometimes we look at that number and we say, wow, this reduction is great. But to look at the purpose of the rear yard setback and what's there and what's behind it, I think is also important in a context. Not just to say the reduction is this, it's a 40% reduction, but it's really looking at the context of what's behind and what that impact would be felt to that property behind. So as we can see, it is a 23-unit development. There are 16 ADUs proposed on the property. We have put together a rendering here of which would be at the northwest corner of Dominion and Burley. So this would again be looking southeast at that northwest corner. The project has been appropriated with the mass being built towards the front along Dominion Road itself. The front portion has the 4 stories. The rear portion that is proposed is 3 stories. And that's important again when we look at that reduction of the rear yard setback and what that intent and purpose is. Located to the rear of this property is the driveway that accesses the garage to the property of the south. So in terms of that built form that is there is the separation of the rear yard setback that we are proposing in addition to a setback to the driveway, a driveway, and then what's also important is that is the garage. The garage is actually located on the side of that house to the south. So to go back to the intent and purpose of a rear yard setback and what that impact would mean, it is mitigated by what is located behind the property, again, being a green setback, a drive aisle, and a garage that's accessed off the side. So continuing on, just briefly, we have put together a couple of other renders here of what this would look. So again, at the top portion, we would see the entrance that comes off of Dominion. The rear portion would be the 3 stories, that is building A, that is at the rear. Mr. Vanderveen did speak of the secondary plan that does permit this, and that's also important in this instance because the secondary plan really dictates what the density should be here, and the density we are proposing is as per that secondary plan. We are actually below that number of what would be permitted in that secondary plan, quite considerably, I would say, with being at 63 units per net hectare, whereas it can go up to a maximum of 75. That's important because the secondary plan dictates the use on this property over the standard official plan, that it trickles down with the secondary plan having more weight than the actual policies of the official plan. In terms of the breakdown, it essentially has been broken down again with that massing at the rear being 3 stories, being building A, again with 3 bedroom units as well as 8 ADUs. How this really looks, and I'm going to skip over most of this because Mr. Vanderveen spoke of it. How it essentially looks is if we look at here, the properties that have the garages, meaning to the south, where we have the 3 stories appropriated in building A, they all offer 2-car vehicle parking, 1 in an integral garage and 1 at grade. As we move up, we can see the arrows in the middle portion, which is building B. All of the ones that face the internal drive aisle have at grade 2-car garages. Additionally, as we turn the corner and we go up towards Dominion Road, we can also see the 2-car parking in each one of those additional. So when we look at the reduction in the parking, the actual reality is this. Of the 14 surface parking spaces, that is to serve 8 units. Every other parcel or every other proposed unit has 2-car parking. So that reduction we're seeking really translates to 14 cars, sorry, that translates into having 14 service spots that is going to service 8 units that don't have an integral 2-car garage within it. I did also want to touch briefly on the context, because there was some questions as it related to the context of Dominion Road. We've essentially matched the proposed setback of the adjacent development to the east. So in terms of what you're going to see along that built form, again, along Dominion, which I go back to the secondary plan, which permits 4 stories. So the secondary plan here does permit 4 stories. And there was a question about the pitch roofs, I believe by Councillor Lewis, speaking to the context. That is something we can visit later on in terms of some control guidelines of that. But in terms of this context of Dominion Road, our front yard setback essentially matches the adjacent property that we're going to see here that is approved. So that's important. That's important because we create that harmonious streetscape along Dominion Road of having a feeling of it being one. There also is another development located to the west at 3085. So we do see some development occurring along this stretch of Dominion, which is a good thing. It is a regional road. It has the capacity to handle larger scale developments. I'm not going to run through the plans in great detail, except again to say the built form, if I go back here, has really been optimized to bring the larger mass to Dominion itself. Now, just to go over some of the comments made, I do believe, the Councillor Lewis did speak of the sort of the common area in the southwest corner. That would again just be dedicated to this property. It's not a POPS or publicly accessible public space. It would be internal to this. That could be open to some type of, child playground or something like that along those lines, but it would not be open to the public. There was also a question about the trees. Yes, the trees are proposed to be removed from this property, but of the 32 trees that are proposed to be removed, only 7 are bylaw protected trees. Only 7 are bylaw protected. The rest of them could be taken down tomorrow without a permit, essentially as of right. Through the process of going to site plan, there is room to plant trees along the area in the northeast, which again has that holding provision where the cut and fill is going to go, that deals with the hazard zone, as well as throughout the site itself. We would definitely be open to any type of trees. I believe Mayor Redekop spoke of the connections. We have appropriated connections to both Burley as well as Dominion, if you look on this plan, in case there is a sidewalk that would be required. So that has been provided on the site where there is a sidewalk connection to both. I think that essentially concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Venskowski. Any questions? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you. You were explaining the parking, Jonathan. I'm not even going to try to get your last name. I would totally destroy it. So if you have all those parking spots, why are you still 6 fewer than what's required?
Well, through you, Mayor Redekop, what I would say is there's 2 different ways to approach parking. There's a theoretical number of what is required and what is really required to accommodate the development. We have submitted a traffic study that supports what we are proposing. Just maybe to go back, because I did throw out a lot of numbers. The way it's appropriated is Building A all provides 2 cars, 1 surface as well as 1 within an integral garage. If we look at Building B in the middle, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That all provides 2-car parking in the garage. Okay? And then as we continue up, we can see the 2 cars there. What is left over is 14 surface spots. That 14 surface spots is essentially there to serve 8 units. And then in addition to visitor parking that would be there. Those are also the smaller units that would be there.
Okay. Okay, but none of them, you are supposed to have accessible parking spots, and you don't have any.
That is something we will address moving forward.
Okay. In regards to the trees, are any of the 7 trees that you have to take down on the property line?
Through you, Mayor Redekop, I can't remember off the top of my head. I could get my computer, which has the arborist report on it exactly, and tell you which ones. I remember there is a couple in the northwest corner, which is actually in the daylight triangle. There are 2 to be removed at the corner that's there for the daylight triangle. I do remember seeing that. There are a couple along the rear property line, but again, I would have to reference the completed arborist report for that.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is that it's not just the arborist report, but if they're on the property line, you need permission from the neighbors.
Correct, through you, Mayor Redekop. Yeah, I'm aware of any boundary tree permits that would be required through notice and all of that.
Thank you. What do you think the prices of these are? Are any of these going to be affordable?
Through you, Mayor Redekop, I really couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you, the idea behind offering the ADUs is to increase your market, which now would allow somebody to go out and possibly rent that unit out. The ADUs provide for a multitude of things. It can be aging in place where your in-laws or your parents come and they live in these units. They can be rented out. There's no part of the zoning bylaw that dictates exactly who has to live in that ADU. But what I can say is the idea, again, behind offering ADUs is increasing the affordability for the home buyer through supplementing a mortgage payment with an additional income that comes in from the property.
So we're looking at 30, how many units was it? I did have it written down. 39? 39 units. And let's say half of them have an ADU, so you're looking at another 20, let's say. So you're looking at 59 possible residents, like people living?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's incorrect. There's 23 units in total that are proposed. Yeah. Within those 23 units, 16 are proposed to have ADUs.
Okay, so that 39 includes?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
When you mentioned about seniors and aging in place, with buildings being 3 and 4 stories, I would assume there's going to be lots of stairs.
Through you, Mayor Redekop, the actual ADUs are all ground related.
Okay.
So the ADUs have been put on the ground floor.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Christensen.
I'd like to ask for a little bit of clarification. Am I correct that the current designation under the secondary plan is R1?
No. The secondary plan, the different than the zoning bylaw is the different than the secondary plan. So the zoning bylaw is R1, which we're proposing to go to RM1.
My understanding, I don't know how to put this in the form of a question. So, given that, so I'll raise that in the report, in the discussion report. What is the difference between the number of units in the under an R1 versus the RM1?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so Ms. Christensen, are you speaking from the zoning bylaw requirement or what the official plan is looking for?
I was looking at the secondary, you're saying the secondary plan is
Yes.
RM1 and the zoning bylaw is R1?
No, so sorry, again, through you, Mr. Mayor, the zoning bylaw is R1, which we're proposing to go to RM1. We are not proposing any change to the official plan. The proposal is in compliance with the official plan. The number of units that are within the official plan can go up to 75 units per net hectare. The proposal is for 63 units per net hectare. So again, we're actually below the official plan requirement for the secondary plan for the numbers of units per net hectare. Again, going back to why we don't require an official plan amendment for the application.
I think that's it.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation, and also for addressing some of the questions that came up tonight that our staff were not able to. Are you able to bring the site plan rendering back up real quick? And I just want to go through the 3 built forms. So starting with Building A, you have how many units in that and how many parking spots per unit?
We have 2 parking, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have 8 units in total, okay, of which each one has an ADU, with each building proposing 2 parking spaces, 1 at grade and 1 in an integral garage.
Okay, and the ADUs are 1-bedroom ADUs?
Correct.
And I'm assuming 1 parking spot is for that individual?
I would, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would assume it's, kind of up to the, how it is arranged.
Okay, and then if I can continue, Unit B, or Building B, how many units and how many parking spaces per unit for that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Lewis, in total in Building B, there is 9 blocks. Of those 9 blocks, 5 of them provide 2-car parking in each.
Okay, and those ADUs are again 1-bedroom ADUs?
Correct. Those ADUs are actually located in the back side, though, that doesn't have the parking.
Okay. And how many bedrooms are those non-ADU units in Building B?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe they are 2 or 3 bedrooms. 1, 2, 3 bedrooms.
Thank you, and then I'll come back to that in a minute. And then the other block to the north, how many units and how many parking spots per unit for those?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Lewis, we have 6 in total, of which 2 of the 6 have 2 spots in the integral garage.
Okay. And again, those are 3-bedroom?
Correct.
Non-ADU units with 1-bedroom ADUs?
We're not getting sound through the mics.
I've never been told that in my life. I've never been told that.
Thank you. So with the ADUs, how many parking spots are on site for each ADU? Is there parking for each one?
Through Mayor Redekop, it would basically be broken down that of those 14 spots, 2 would be allocated, around 2 or so, 1.5 to 2, depending on where it is and how it's sold. I think, and I can appreciate the parking, but I think a lot of, and I'm maybe giving you a justification you're not really asking for, I think a lot of parking comes down to demand at this stage, and I think a lot of it comes down to, if you're looking to purchase something that doesn't have 2-car parking, you simply don't purchase there. You purchase somewhere else or you go somewhere else, and I think that's really the model of how parking is moving, rather than saying everybody needs 2 to 3 cars. It's coming down to, if you're looking to purchase here or you're looking to rent here and there is simply not a spot available, you will simply look elsewhere.
Or you'll park on the street illegally?
Well, I believe that's a bylaw enforcement issue, Mr. Lewis, not a,
Which is what I'm trying
not a zoning issue.
Which is partially what I'm trying to avoid here. So if I take the units themselves, the 2 parking spots per unit, the ADU with, we don't know how many parking spots because we really haven't been told, how many guest parking spots are we left with?
Of the 8, there should be around 6 guest parking spaces, most likely including 2 accessible spots.
And that would be for 39 units in total?
No, well, again, I think when we go back to the number, again, sorry, my apologies, through Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Lewis, when we look at the 39 units, like I said, all but 8 of the units will provide 2-car parking within them. There's only 8 units that don't provide any parking. So in terms of where those ADUs are going to park, that's really going to have to be built into the agreement of renting it, or again, if it's a family member, and that, I think it would really have to be dealt with in that instance.
So thank you, and if I may continue, Your Worship, back to the question. So for 39 total units, what I'm hearing is there's 6 parking spots for the whole survey.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there'd be probably about 6 for the visitors, correct?
And do you think that's adequate?
I think, again, I'm not a traffic engineer. I would defer to the report that was submitted.
And last question, just speaking from my own experience, I don't have a garage, nor do I live in a new survey. but from what I can see and from what I've heard from multiple public meetings is that often garages become the storage shed because there is no storage shed. The parking spot that is internal now is not usable. Do you see that as being a potential problem for this unit where since there is no room for backyards and sheds storage because the ADU has taken up the basement or what would be formerly a storage unit, do you not see why maybe some of us here on council might be concerned with 6 parking spots for guests for 39 units?
Through Mr. Mayor, I do see what you're saying, but again, I would go back to, I can't stipulate how somebody is going to use their garage in the future. I don't disagree that garages do often become storage, but again, I'm not here to speculate on how somebody would use that area.
And one last question. That little common area down in the southeast corner, what are the dimensions of what we're calling a common area?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I actually did write that down, and I did mean to address that. So the width is 6.7 meters in width. The depth I couldn't see, but again, the depth would somewhere be around 20 meters, in and around that 20 meters.
And then the picnic area, I'm assuming that's the picnic area for everyone that has one of the 39 units. Could you tell us the size of the picnic area for the 37 residents that would be moving into this subdivision?
Yes, through Mr. Mayor, I would also say that we do provide balconies on the units, which also would act as exterior amenity space for it. Again, that dimension would be somewhere around 10 foot by 10 foot or 3 meters by 3 meters.
So for 39 units, you would be proposing a picnic area that's probably suitable for one standard townhouse?
Through Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I would put it that way. I don't think the expectation is that 39 people would be using a amenity space at the same time. Again, it would come down to proper stewardship between, tenants that live there.
And just one last question, but you would say that this subdivision does require a picnic area and a community outdoor space. You see the need for that within a subdivision of this size?
Through Mr. Mayor, I think amenity space is always a plus, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? So, Mr. Vanskowski, I want to just go back to the comment about the density here. This property is currently in the secondary plan designated as low-density residential, correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
And townhouse dwellings are typically considered to be medium-density residential.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So my understanding is that the Ridgeway Thunder Bay secondary plan establishes a density of 25 to 75 units for medium density.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
But this property isn't medium density yet.
No, it is medium density, Mr. Mayor. The way the Ridgeway secondary plan works is if it's in close proximity to either a regional road or public amenity space, which in this instance is the Shagpack Park or the Friendship Trail, it can go to the medium density designation. So because of its location, it does take the umbrella of medium density.
Okay, so I think you're one step ahead. You can apply to have the property treated as medium density, but currently it's low density.
Through Mr. Mayor, I disagree with that. It is medium density because of its location. But we're not requesting for it to be medium density. Because of its location, the designation goes to medium density.
And I suppose by the same token, because you consider this to be medium density, regardless of what the secondary plan says, that would permit a 4-story building as opposed to 3-story, which is what this secondary plan calls for.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. 4 stories is permitted under the medium density.
Right. So, okay. The rear yards, so you're, I have to say I've never seen any application seek this many modifications for a zoning that you want to go to. The 3.71 meter rear yard of the 8-unit townhouse block, that would accommodate the drainage that's going to be required for this property?
Mr. Mayor, correct. There was a stormwater management report that was submitted in conjunction with this, and yes, as per every municipality, you have to demonstrate being able to retain all rainwater runoff or pond, whatever we want to call it, within the site itself.
And so, can you just put up the elevations of the properties again?
The perspective, Mr. Mayor, or the flat?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so these show that the bottom floor is parking.
Correct.
And
Mr.
so
Mayor.
when you talk about the seniors or the ADUs being ground level, you mean ADUs would be one story up?
Mr. Mayor, half behind it, okay, and then some in the basement.
So they're, okay.
So the parking doesn't encompass all of the rear building.
And so where would the owner of the property live? The second and third floor?
They could live on the second and third,
Second,
correct?
third, fourth floor?
No, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just second and third as per the bottom.
What's the fourth floor?
That's at the front. This is, I thought we were speaking about the bottom picture.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No. Okay, so the bottom picture, right, you got the garage, then you've got the level above the garage is the owner,
Correct.
and the owner could also live in the second floor.
Correct.
But behind this is where the ADUs are.
And the basement, correct.
All right. And that's one ADU per unit.
Of this one, correct, of the block townhouse at the bottom.
Right. And the only reason you can't have more ADUs is because you don't have enough parking, I suppose.
Mr. Mayor, I think that, I would say, there was a discussion you had with Mr. Vanderveen about what would be permitted. The province has mandated you're permitted 3 total, right? So, and again, without that limitation of parking associated with it. So I think that's a question that I think is very high level in terms of an overarching policy. But again, the parking of vehicles, I think, will be handled essentially by the homeowner and if it is an ADU that is rented out.
All right, so you're passing that on to whoever owns the property. Your client will build the units and then sell the units and then move on and let the owners deal with whatever comes next and the municipality. That's essentially what you're saying.
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that's what I'm saying. I don't believe I'm saying it falls on the municipality. I think it falls on who purchases the parcel and how they want to utilize that parcel and the agreement they want to make with or if they rent out that unit.
The zoning that's being proposed, RM1, according to our staff, the calculation is that 51 parking spaces are required. They've indicated that you're providing 45, so there is a shortage of parking spaces according to the town's calculation, staff's calculation. You don't agree with that?
Oh, no, I agree with that, Mr. Mayor. I didn't say I disagree with that.
So, okay, so you're
Yeah.
asking for relief on that?
Correct.
Along with all these other various aspects. And so to Councillor Lewis's question, if there is relief granted, there are fewer parking spaces than our staff is telling us are required, and you only have 6 guest parking spots, where would people park if there's an overflow? Where would they park?
I don't have an answer to that question, other than, again, I would defer to the transportation reports that have been submitted in support of this application, frankly, as well as reviewed by municipal staff, with no objection raised as it relates to that.
No objection raised to the, well, they're telling you that you don't have enough parking spaces, is what they're telling you.
I believe that's the zoning bylaw requirement, not an objection to what we are proposing.
Oh, so it's your understanding that staff supports this application?
I did not say staff supported. I said that the comments from transportation have not indicated an issue with what is being proposed for parking.
Has your client done any market research with respect to what type of housing is required in this area?
I'm not sure of that, Mr. Mayor.
Can you find out and let us know?
I can ask that.
Okay. And if they have done some market research, I'd be interested in knowing what exactly they're advised is the housing need here. And when your client purchased this parcel, I presume he knew what the zoning was.
Mr. Mayor, I would assume that was in terms of their due diligence portion. I didn't ask if they knew that, but I would assume during their due diligence portion, I was not a part of that, they would have inquired on the zoning, yes.
Prudent purchaser
Of course.
would make those
Yeah.
inquiries. And so presumably, he would have known that he'd need to have make an application for a rezoning in order to move forward with this elaborate plan.
I would assume so, Mr. Mayor.
And did you address the issue of accessibility for individuals to these units?
In terms of, Mr. Mayor, in terms of if they are for elderly or anything like that? I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Anybody that has accessibility needs, how do they get to the second, third, fourth floor?
Well, it would be, Mr. Mayor, like any other typical 1 or 2 or 3-story detached dwelling. They could put a chairlift in if they wish, or it would just be the same as any other single-family detached dwelling.
Or just not buy one of these units?
Again, Mr. Mayor, it's a market world we live in where people are going to buy 2 things, what they can afford and what suits their needs.
Right. You've indicated that you believe that this complies with the density. Staff is saying that if you include the ADUs, it's actually 103 units per hectare, which is well beyond even 75 for medium density.
Mr. Mayor, I would also say in that same report from staff, they say the ADUs aren't included in that. So again, that's not included in the calculation. That is in the information report.
So
that came out.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear on this. We close our eyes to the fact that there are dwelling units in this subdivision. We just don't include them in the density even though they're there. Is that what we're supposed to do?
Mr. Mayor, I don't make your calculations or how the town comes up with that. That's your policies that are telling us that. I'm not the one saying that. That are your policies that are saying that, not me.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. One last question. I think I heard you earlier say that the ADUs are on ground level, and then I think I also heard you answer the question when the mayor asked when we were looking at the rendering at the bottom that they were in the basement.
Yes.
So where are they?
There's a portion. If we go here on the left, we see the bedroom associated with the kitchen on the first. Okay, and then we would see the kitchen and then the 3 bedrooms I spoke of on the right.
So they're on ground level, not in the basement.
A mixture of both. So if we look at on my left, your right, we see typical main floor plan building A, typical basement, that would be basement and first floor would be 1 unit, second and third floor would be 1 unit.
Okay, so some of these units do have basements.
Correct.
Some of them do not.
Correct. The conversation we were having, through you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Lewis, the conversation we were having was regarding the rear units when we were speaking of that perspective.
And of the ADUs, and I apologize because I guess the questions on this could go on forever, but of the ADUs, the ground floor ones are obviously accessible. What is the split between accessible versus, and ones that are half basement, half ground level? What's the split? Like how many of these ADUs would be accessible units versus none?
Well, again, I think accessible involves 2 things, and I think we're taking my explanation of it could be for aging in place, it could be for rental, and we're kind of just focusing on that, and I don't think that was my intention. I was just giving examples of how it could be. So in terms of accessibility takes a couple of arms. One is things like accessible washrooms that permit a turning radius for a wheelchair, wider doors, and again, it can go back to having a chairlift. In this instance, of those 8 at the back, they are split 2 and 2, being basement and first, and then second and third.
Okay.
So realistically, the second and the third could be accessible if there was a lift. It would all depend on, again, how it was broken up.
Okay, so I'll throw accessibility out the window and I'll just go, how many units of the ADUs are ground level versus ground level and partial basement?
Okay, so this would encompass building, through you, Mr. Mayor, this would...
Of the 16.
Well, these 8 would be basement and first.
Yep.
Okay, and as we continue on, we see again building B here, which has again a ground floor plan, which has
Sorry, which one are you at? Top row?
Bottom left, sorry, these are all for Building B, which is the middle, because again, we do have some end units, just the only difference would be they would be able to have windows on the ends would be the bigger difference. Okay, so these ones are split up differently, with again, being a ground floor unit, okay, and then a second and a third floor unit.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So now, is there anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor of the application or in support of it? If not, is there, Mr. Patton, anyone in the digital waiting room? No, Your Worship. Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition or ask questions of council with respect to this application? Okay, so we'll start from the end with the lady with, looks like pink from here. If you would come forward. You need to provide us with your name and address for the record. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Denise Brzezowski, another Polish name. I'll spell that for you.
Sure.
B as in Bravo, R-Z, O-Z-O-W-S-K-I. And Denise is spelled D-E-N-E-E-C-E. Okay?
And your address.
Oh, beg your pardon. We're the 342, that Burley Road, which is directly behind that 150 by 4-story or 3-story proposed building. That actually is probably one of the hardest things for us as residents. I'm here also with our neighbor. We have been affected by all the construction, of course, across both of our properties. When we moved to Burley Road in, well, I guess 9 years ago or so, we enjoyed a very spacious, private, luxurious in terms of trees, grass, nature. And as we've gone along with all of this construction, we're seeing that very quickly disappear. Some of those trees that were described as probably having to be removed are 40-foot evergreens that have been there for a very long time. And the concept of actually reducing the easement between our property means that that building is 10 feet from me and from our driveway. Over the last year, we spent a considerable amount of money redoing our backyard to be that oasis for our family. And at this point, we are going to be staring at a very long building. That is by far not something I would have ever expected to encounter in our area. Partially because there are no residences within Ridgeway proper that would actually even come close to comparing to those buildings and structures. As for privacy, having balconies on the back of those buildings, they are looking directly into my yard. Our yard, pardon me, my husband is here as well. I shouldn't claim it just for myself. And that is not what we would have expected either. Having known that we purchased this property with the intention of looking at an acre on the one side and the luxury of looking at our neighbors at their acre as well. Now, we do sit on Parker as well, so we're kind of that weird corner lot. However, knowing that I'm going to look out my bedroom window and not see the things that I have been seeing for 9 years is quite disturbing. That's probably the hardest thing to take a look at, and to understand why they are going to build something that will ultimately tower over our 2-story dwelling. So that's a considerable change for our environment. The other thing that really poses a question and a concern for us is the cramming of so many people into such a small space. We know, living in Ridgeway, that you drive cars everywhere. You can walk to Ridge Road, but you're not going to get your groceries on Ridge Road. You're going to get them all the way down on Gorham Road. that will require a car unless you have a great wagon. So we know that those things are just inevitable. That's going to happen. As for walking, it is incredibly difficult to walk on Burley Road. We live directly adjacent to the mailboxes. I can tell you, I stand in my driveway and wait for all the cars to go by before I will even make my way to the mailbox. And I can also tell you on several occasions, as I'm trying to get out of my driveway, I have nearly been struck by cars coming around the corner off Dominion and blasting down Burley. That has happened. One truck, actually, it was nighttime, came around the corner, almost struck me, went into the ditch across the street. Thankfully, four-wheel drive, came back out on the other side. Nobody was hurt. That will cause a problem, having all those vehicles circling that area. As for parking, I am absolutely certain that the congestion around our area will get worse. Parker is a very narrow street. We have had it connected to the development that is there right now. It is definitely used more often than it used to be. It's very narrow, lined with very mature trees. I don't see any time soon that changing. And of course, those trees along the line are both at our neighbors and our property. So that really is a concern. I know that we talk about water. We talk about water all the time in Ridgeway. We have a lot of it pooling. We have it pooling along the Friendship Trail. We know this. When that other property or construction area went in, water was one of the biggest challenges. I don't see that changing when we take this property and now we have turned it into somewhat of a concrete jungle. There is very little surface to absorb any runoff that may occur. We live adjacent to that property. It is highly likely we'll be seeing some of that water. So I don't know how they plan on taking care of that. Thank you to the gentleman who just spoke to let us know that these are actually going to be purchased units, not necessarily built as rentals. At first glance, when you look at them, they do look like apartment buildings. They don't look like your standard towns, and it does not match anything in our area. And as for privacy, there is no privacy when that building goes up. Not for us, not for our neighbor. We had privacy. And I respect the fact that we need to build, but I don't believe we need to build at the expense of the people. Anita and Bob, she will speak, have been there much longer than us and have valued their property the way it is and have had to endure the first round of construction. As for privacy, will someone put a fence up? Will someone take down the mature trees that we have that line that entire property? I can't trust that they will remain. It is heartbreaking to see all of that happen. For my husband, we also want to share that, and you'll probably laugh, but there are little moles, the eastern mole, that actually live in the gully right at the mailboxes. We see the molehills come up. I've had the luxury of actually seeing a mole for first time in my life. They are not a protected species yet, but they are a species that is under consideration by the province. So for him, I said I would speak to this little critter. And in closing, I love Ridgeway. We came in from Niagara Falls, and after being there 40 years or so and coming into Ridgeway, it's a place where, you know, everyone said, why are you moving out there? And I'm like, I don't know. But after a few years of being here, It's been a pleasure to live in Ridgeway as it sits. I did not ever expect it to turn into an urban center. And by constructing buildings of this fashion, that's where we're driving. And I'd like to continue to live here, but I really don't know if that building went up, whether somebody would buy my house. Because they're going to look at that same wall that I'm going to look at and say, I don't think I want to live here. So it actually will impact us down the road should we ever decide to take and move somewhere else. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Brzezowski. Any members of council have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll go to the gentleman that was beside you, unless he's part of your team.
Denise touched on my topic there, that's fine.
Thank you. So then we'll go to the lady beside you to your right.
Hello. Good
Evening.
evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Anita Zankin. I live at 3310 Parker Avenue, and like my beautifully well-spoken neighbor has just elaborated, our properties are, ours not as much as hers, but we are affected by this proposed build. My husband, Bob, and I have been living at that property for 30 years. And we too have enjoyed solitude, absolute quiet, and even the subdivision that went in recently to our east. It was very disruptive, lots of dust. I mean, you know, I could blame that on on the dust in my home, but we weathered that, and but we noticed that 3 feet of our property has now been, it's like the property line is changing. So it's diminished somewhat. The water table has changed with that. And that's at the east end of our property. So now with this new build, what's going to happen when they remove trees? We have a massive willow, and as Denise mentioned, evergreens on the northwest corner of our property. And it's really disturbing to think, why would something be proposed that does not allow for any green space? They've reduced any kind of planting strip to centimeters. People are going to, like Denise mentioned, a concrete jungle. How is that fair? How are emergency vehicles going to get in that small turnaround parking lot? How is snow removal going to happen? I mean, it's just not fitting with the looks of the neighborhood at all. And then what will be the proposed plan? How is that going to fit in with the plan for 3303 Dominion, which I've spoken about, I think, before. So just in closing, and I thank you for listening, it's very disturbing to have such a contrast proposed to what we've enjoyed for all this time. The subdivision that was built to the east of us, they've got green space. There's a huge, massive plot of land where children can play. And to say, oh, well, the Friendship Trail is close by and Shagbark Trail, you can't go on those places unsupervised with an adult. So how is a child going to enjoy any kind of playtime? You're not going to send your kid to the Friendship Trail unsupervised. So thank you for your time and letting me speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zankin. Do any members of council have any questions? Thank you very much. Okay. Now, are you speaking for your husband as well?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Just from the chair here, I would probably comment.
Well, then you should come up, sir.
Oh, okay.
So that we can make sure that we get you on. You're Robert Zankin?
Yeah, need a couple of knees, but.
You're Robert Zankin?
Yes, I'm Robert Zankin.
And you live at
3310
Parker?
I do, yes.
Please proceed.
It's with respect to this proposed development, What happened on our east lot, they've managed to take the grade away from what used to be a level field to something close to 3 feet below grade now. So I have no idea how that affects the water table for the trees that we have on our property. The tree being closest to that excavation and all that earth that they've removed would probably change the life expectancy of that tree. I would expect it's probably 100 plus, 150 years old. You can measure it, I did 30 years ago, it was 15 feet, 4 inches circumference at about 6 feet off the ground. I don't know if the girth changed any more than that, but I don't know if in a matter of several years we will see that tree die for lack of water, because they put drainage in there and a grade. Like I run my lawnmower now, I can't mow the end of my property because they've dropped it down 3 feet. So who's going to take care of that? We've lost some land there, and I don't know what happens when they do this development on our northeast corner or northwest corner. It joins to their property as well, and they're talking about addressing the water table, moving it out. So I would have a concern there.
Anything
Really?
else?
No, I think that's
Okay.
to add to what you had said, that's all.
Before you go, any members of council have any questions of Mr. Zankin? Thank you very much, sir.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address council with respect to this matter? Okay, Mr. Patton, anyone in the waiting room? Mr. Clerk, have we received any correspondence with respect to this matter since the report was published?
No additional comments were received.
Okay, then I'm going to declare this public meeting closed, and we're going to go to report PBBS 75-2025. Councillor Flagg, do you have that motion?
I do indeed, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council receives for information purposes report PPBS 75-2025 regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the lands located at 3331 Dominion Road, Fort Erie.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. I'm just, there's so many changes requested, so many reductions. I'm not, don't even know where to start, but I'm not going to ask the same questions asked before. But in regards to the balconies that were brought up, I know in the past we have really encouraged the developer not to have balconies that overlook somebody's backyard, if at all possible. And in this case, that doesn't seem to be the rationale here. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons for the balconies was supposed to be be considered not green space, but an amenity. So therefore, they didn't need as much green space as necessary. So I kind of want to know if there's any possibility of removing those balconies that back onto the property right next to them. The other one was actually one of the speakers brought up the snow removal. Is this going to be a private road that runs through this, or is this going to be a public road?
Ms. Dilwaria?
Your Worship, through you to the councillor, it would be a private road.
Okay, so then they would be responsible for the snow removal. Again, that's all I'm going to ask at this point.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Christensen.
Through your worship to Ms. Dilwaria, I'd like clarification as to exactly what the secondary plan designation of this property is. Is it R1 or is it RM1, as the proponent stipulates?
Your Worship, through you to councillor. So the secondary plan designation of that property as of right is low density, which allows the maximum density of 25 units per hectare. And the current zoning is R1, which allows single detached dwellings on that site only.
So in fact, therefore, again through you,
Yep.
all of the discussion in the information report is about a complete change to the secondary plan and the zoning bylaw within an otherwise single-family neighborhood.
Dilwaria?
Through you, Your Worship, to the councillor, the official plan allows a zoning bylaw to change, like instead of going through an official plan amendment, if if the proponent would qualify for criterias which Mr. Van der Veen had outlined, then they don't have to go through an official plan, and that way they can go into the medium density designation. But you're absolutely correct, the current designation is low density, and as of now, the approval hasn't been provided, so the proposal has to be evaluated based on the current zoning and the current designation.
Councillor Christensen.
Again, through you, Your Worship. So the changes that are being requested as amendments to the RM1 designation, not the current R1 designation.
Through you, Your Worship, through the Councillor, the applicant is proposing to rezone the lands to RM1, and even with RM1 current zoning requirements, they are not able to comply, and these are the departures that they are seeking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just wanted to clarify that because I would like to make some comments about this. To me, this is not acceptable. It is not congruent with the neighborhood. I didn't want to be rude, so I didn't ask whether anyone has actually visited my ward and Burley Road because a 1/3 hectare with 39 units is certainly, as my constituents have pointed out, not at all consistent with the nature of the community. As most people know, I am not opposed to infill. I am not opposed to development. I am, however, opposed to something that is egregiously, it flies in the face of my ward, to much of the areas of Fort Erie that are similar. That ward has my ward and the neighborhood, as has been noted, have seen changes. There are some there have been impacts, but in this case, 39 units with all of the concerns and issues with respect to parking, with respect to overflow parking on Burley Road, and I don't know how they go along Dominion, they'd be towed, but they'd hopefully be towed on Burley too. It makes it impossible. And with respect to the proponents, this is a growing community. But any changes must be consistent with the direction of the secondary plan, which explicitly speaks to ensuring that there is a reasonable congruence, that it's harmonious, compatible integration. This is in no way able to be a compatible integration with the surrounding area. And it will have significant, and it says in our official plan, not negatively impact lower density residential uses. Well, this will. I will speak to the issue of the proximity of Shagbark Park as being identified. Shagbark Park is, and I'm really tired of this, and I'm going to say it now, I'm really tired of having Shagbark Park brought up as a park or as a place for people to go. It's an environmentally sensitive area. It is, there's a reason why part of this property is under the oversight of the Niagara Region Conservation Authority. It's because it's a sensitive area. It has many species. It has, it's a walking area. It's a nature trail. As was mentioned, the Friendship Trail is not a recreational area. It is a walking trail. It's a through trail that goes from the river way the heck the other way for many, many kilometers. So there are, I'm obviously under stress. I have been stewing about this since I got the report and since I found out about this. And I may as well be honest. I think Councillor Noyes talked about the number of changes, so did the mayor. I'm gobsmacked. There are a number of gentler options that could be used on this property that would be far more congruent. And they might be the kind of opportunity that would perhaps challenge some of the neighbors, but would not fly in the face of them. The issue of the proximity, the 3 or 4 stories up in people's rear yards, 10 feet from their property line. This is not Dundas and Spadina in Toronto. This is not downtown Hurontario and Dundas in Mississauga. It is still small town, and I have to say I am really tired of seeing developments that take they give no respect to the fact that small town Ontario has a charm, that it is open. We're open. Our new official plan is open to growth. But for God's sake, respect the community and look at it. I did not ask the gentleman whether he'd ever been on the site and walked down Burley Road and walked along Parker and Wells and Grove. And anyway, I really have a concern because the very fact that the planner does not know the secondary plan designation really gives me pause. Thank you.
I think, I'm guessing that we now know what you think. Is there anyone else that wishes to comment? Ms. Dilwaria, this is an information report, and the usual process is that we receive this information from staff, providing us with a general overview. We hear from the applicant. This is was a public meeting, and we typically would move this forward to receive a recommendation report. Is there any reason why we wouldn't follow that process tonight? Or do you prefer that we simply follow that process to give staff an opportunity to respond to the various issues?
Your Worship, my recommendation would be give an opportunity to staff to come back with a recommendation report, but ultimately it's council decision how they want to proceed.
Councillor McDermott, would you mind taking the chair?
Go ahead, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a few comments, probably not as impassioned as Councillor Christensen, but she's quite correct. This municipality has grown significantly over the past several years and has had a lot of development take place throughout the community. And we have a strategic plan. This council has identified a vision for growth of this community, and we've been very clear that we want growth, but we want growth that complies with the vision that we have. And our planners, our planning staff, is very much aligned with our vision for growth. And the growth mantra is fairly simple. It boils down to protecting our natural heritage and to protecting our existing neighborhoods. Other than that, we entertain a lot of interesting proposals, and there's a variety of housing styles that have been constructed in this home. Although I must say, although our housing needs study indicates that we need more seniors buildings and more rental apartments, at one point this municipality was almost entirely single family or duplex housing. There was a time when there were no townhouses. I think the first real townhouses were built probably 25 26, 27 years ago. And now we have a plethora of them. We see them all the time. We have developments that propose 93 townhouses and nothing but townhouses. Or there was one, I think, that had over 200, nothing but townhouses. Well, if you're looking at the global number of housing units in the municipality, and you're looking at what the ratio is between single-family dwellings and townhouses, I suppose you could say that we need more townhouses. But the reality is, right now, everybody that comes to this town wants to build townhouses, with some exceptions. Some of the developers that are more familiar with the community, more familiar with the vision that this council has for growth, are tuned into the type of neighborhoods that we're looking at and the types of things that they can do to make sure that their development fits in with the general neighborhood. One of the things that we've tried to do is make sure that there's at least some step back from the exterior parts of a development so that any real changes take place on the inside. That would suggest that a 4-story building, which doesn't comply with the current secondary plan, by the way, wouldn't necessarily be on the corner of the property. And so I'm fascinated by the number of changes from R1, which it currently is, to RM1, but I'm even more fascinated by the number of modifications to the RM1 that the applicant is proposing. It's, I can't imagine, I just can't imagine what, with all due respect, I can't imagine what the owner is thinking, the applicant is thinking. We're responsible for the growth of the community. We're responsible for ensuring that the growth that takes place fits the character of the community. Not the whole community, but at least in this instance, the neighborhood. And yes, to use Shagbark Trail, which is an urban forest, as an example of a park that's within walking proximity, doesn't really hit it. The closest park here would be the Village Square on Ridge Road. And beyond that, the next park would be maybe Beaver Creek or Crystal Ridge Park, so some distance away. You know, I hesitate to think that families would want to live in these units. And the irony is that we're being asked to approve smaller lots. 6 meters, a 6-meter backyard in this community seems very odd, considering that many people have 20, 30, 40, 50-meter backyards in a lot of areas. So a 3.71 meter backyard, that's not a backyard. You can hardly turn around in the backyard. And, you know, in fairness to Councillor Lewis, people will use their garage unless they have absolutely no stuff. But if they've got stuff, they've got to put it someplace. And they'll put it in their garage, and so that in itself will create problems. The part that concerns me the most is that some developers will come into this community and make a proposal for a development, and we know that it's a one-off. They'll be in, they'll be out, and there's nothing that says they can't do that. The law says they can do that. The law says they can make applications. The law says we have to process them, and the law says that we get to make the decision on what this community should look like down the road. And so as I said, I'm not as impassioned as Councillor Christensen, but I'm pretty clear-eyed on what our vision is for the future of this community. And I don't see this as part of the vision. It just doesn't fit in with the community, doesn't fit in at all. And to think that it does, I do have to give the planner a lot of credit for trying to put the best face on this particular application. You may believe the stuff that you were telling us. Good for you. But I'm not going to be swayed by this. So, Mr. Chair, I guess the only question is, again, to the planner. Would she prefer that we move this to the recommendation report, or would she prefer that we deal with it tonight?
Mr. Warrior?
Mr. Chair, through His Worship, staff preference would be to deal with it at the recommendation stage, but like I said before, it's council's decision.
Okay, so then let me ask one other staff member, the CAO. is his preference that we deal with this tonight or let it go to the recommendation report?
Through you to the mayor, I think the recommendation from staff is to allow this to go to recommendation report. We often see proposals that come in that are much more dense or not compatible with the community. It will give staff an opportunity to go back, deal with the proponents, look at some of the feedback that was, I think, very clearly stated by council members tonight, and with the hope that the proponents may make modifications that are more compatible with what council is looking for in terms of existing zoning, potential zoning. And again, those would come back in a recommendation report. Of course, no guarantee that proponents make changes to those proposals, but I think it's an opportunity for them to consider some of what they've heard tonight and allow staff to review potential modifications and bring a recommendation back. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you very much. I'm quite prepared to follow that, but I think staff should be under no illusion as to where I stand on this. And the modifications that would have to be made to make this fit into the neighborhood, I think are significant. I don't know whether the owner is prepared to be that flexible, but I can tell you right now, unless there are significant changes to this, I'm not inclined to be supportive after recommendation, but I will vote to move this forward. Thank you, Chair.
All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried.
Thank you very much, Councillor McDermott. Okay, that takes us then to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone wishes removed from the consent agenda? If not, Councillor McDermott, you have the resolution for the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that council approves the consent agenda as recommended.
Are there any questions or comments with respect to any of the items? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Number 11.3.6, Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee minutes. Just have some comments. A large part of this was that the committee, about the budget that they currently have in regards to a reduction. I'm just wondering if we can get some background on, do we know what they're asking for? And do we know why their budget was decreased?
Mr. Jansen, my understanding is that, I don't even know if their budget has been decreased. Mr. Jansen, I don't know whether the museum or cultural heritage budget has been decreased, but can you comment on that?
I believe that if you're referring to the 2025 budget, that was adjusted based on what we knew in finance from through staff and through liaison. But I think we did take steps during the year to adjust that, and we've reached out to ensure that doesn't happen for 26.
Okay, so you anticipate that they'll be receiving the same amount that they should have had in 2025?
Yeah, where needed, we would just accommodate up to a previous amount. That was our understanding in discussions with staff. But if there's something more specific, is there a known amount?
Well, Councillor Noyes, you have the floor. It didn't say an amount, it just said that they were reduced by a certain
That's right, that they're asking for something. Fill me in on exactly what their budget is supposed to cover.
Mr. Jansen?
Yeah, we don't. I could go back and look at our notes from last year or the previous year when we did have a full submission made to us. I believe it is primarily for meetings. There's some elements of training, if I can recall, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, and thank you for that, because one of the things I did want to mention, perhaps they're not aware, and the report that we had 2 weeks ago was that the town of Fort Erie actually spends more money on heritage, not necessarily the committee itself, but on heritage in regards to how we subsidize the different programs for the other municipalities. And I'm hoping that the Heritage Committee takes that into understanding too when they're looking at their budget, that we are very we spend more money on the heritage features than any other municipality does in the area. Thank you.
So, Ms. Cameron, you wanted to comment on that?
If I may just add to the discussion, Councillor Noyes is very right, and these minutes, this is the second meeting in a row with this committee where the topic of budget and some of their concerns have been expressed. I've done my best as a staff contact there with the committee to provide some reassurance. The town is incredibly lucky that we have a council that has invested so much in museum and cultural services. And I think it's very important this committee understands that if they've got ideas, kinds of investment that they'd like to see us make using that budget, that we are their partner in this. There may have been a feeling on the committee in previous years that they needed to have their own budget so that certain things could happen. Now, especially that we're on the edge of recruiting for a new manager of museum and cultural services, and on the edge of some good next steps, interesting next steps for the group, we see lots of opportunities to just keep working with the committee, and I've encouraged them to bring their ideas forward.
Councillor Noyes, I don't know that was necessarily responsive to your issue, but did you?
Well, I thank her for that response, and I did also see her comments in response to the questions that arose during the committee meeting, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions with respect to the items in the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That then takes us to that's the reports, and Councillor Flagg, you have that resolution.
I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council directs staff to prepare and submit a formal response to the province opposing the proposed changes under ERO 025-1099, which mandate and standardize structure and content for municipal official plans. That council directs staff to emphasize that these changes would eliminate secondary and site-specific plans, remove development standards from official plans, and severely restrict Fort Erie's ability to reflect our local priorities, community character, and geographic diversity in its planning documents.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering if this will also be circulated to area municipalities as well as AMO and Roma?
Mr. CAO, is that something that we had contemplated? And is there any reason if we hadn't, why we couldn't?
I think we probably have opportunity now. We are in the course of putting together delegations for Roma, so I think that is something we can mention in and work out the details as more information comes forward.
Right, and we are trying to get a meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, aren't we? Okay, anything further, Councillor Lewis?
That's everything. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. I think tonight's discussion that we just had regarding the development on Burley and Dominion, how changed or how, if that discussion could even happen under this rule, the new legislation rule that they're recommending. And we would really just be, we would be so limited in regards to site plans and recommendations and what we'd like to see. The local priorities would be totally lost if this goes through. Thank you.
Councillor Christensen.
Yes, building on the previous discussion and what Councillor Noyes just said, I looked at this and small town Ontario and large urban Ontario are precious. Communities across this province are precious. Their physical infrastructure, the design, the history is so important. The differences across, and I've had the opportunity to go from Cornwall up to Kenora, so and further north, I've seen and worked in different parts of this province. And to have municipalities limited and standardized is, to me, potentially, and, oh, I know you want things, people might want things more efficiently done and think that a template is a perfect thing, but the province needs to be advised that it risks losing the immense diversity that this province, that makes this province so special, as well as making our home here special. So, yeah, I just have to say that. 'Cause,
Okay.
yeah, we risk the emperor having no clothes.
Ooh. Let me get that out of my mind. I guess it depends on what the emperor looks like. Okay, if there are no other comments, all those in favor of the resolution? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Hare. That's an excellent job. You did an excellent job on that. That takes us then to new business. And the first resolution under new business is Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that Council accepts the resignation of Mojib Fahimi from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, and further, that Council directs staff to fill the vacancy in accordance with the procedural bylaw.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. The next resolution, Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg that Council receives the memorandum entitled ERO Posting 25-1101, Consultation on Enhanced Development Standards, in brackets lot level outside of buildings, for information purposes.
Any questions or comments with respect to that? All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Christensen, you have the next resolution.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that Council receives the memorandum entitled Website Refresh for information purposes.
Any questions or comments with respect to the changes that are coming? All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. And that then takes us to Councillor Lewis. Further submissions to the province.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that Council receives the memorandum entitled Town of Fort Erie Submission on the Province of Ontario's Special Economic Zones Framework for information purposes.
Are there any questions or comments on this? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Other items of new business, Councillor Noyes. Or inquiries, yeah.
Inquiries, yeah. I thought I was going to be bringing this up under motions. And I've
Well,
actually lost my piece of paper.
You've got two items. One has to do with the status of the work on the third access to Douglastown. And the other one has to do with the IHAP. That's your notice of motion.
Yes, but I thought we were...
So the first one has to do with the status of the municipal class environmental assessment for the third access to Douglastown. You were going to ask the acting director of infrastructure services what the status of that is.
Yes, okay, so that's under inquiries, not under motions. Okay.
It's under inquiries, yes.
That's
where we are.
Just as you said.
Mr. Piesel.
Yes, through the chair. I've had recent conversations with Mr. Hunter as well as the MTO regarding the third access. The next stage would be to consult with our lawyer in-house to see if the information that we receive from the MTO is accurate.
Councillor Noyes?
Thank you for that. Look forward to the response.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, the question really related to the status of the municipal class environmental assessment that this council thought was going to be taking place some time ago when the Spring Creek Estates plan of subdivision was approved. It's got to be 2-3 years ago now. So we had asked that there be work done on a third access. We were advised by the Director of Infrastructure Services that a municipal class environmental assessment would be required and would be undertaken. Do you have any comments on that? Do you know the status of that? Has it been started?
I don't believe that that's been started, the Class EA has been started at all. The last transaction of information that I've received from the MTO is that they've denied the request for the third access be put in that location due to controlled access highway. And there is the last conversation I had with the MTO is that an IHAMP would be required.
What would be required?
An IHAMP study would be required.
Okay, and so that is, my understanding is, just looking at recent correspondence that you've been receiving from Mr. Hunter and that he's been receiving, is that there may have been a misunderstanding at the Ministry of Transportation as to what the nature of the roads were within this subdivision, A, and B, whether Netherby Road is a controlled access route, which apparently it's not, so that there may have been a significant change in how this can be dealt with. You're following up on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm following up with that. The information I received is that Netherby Road itself may not be a controlled access highway, but that portion that is being identified for the access is actually identified as part of the QEW off-ramp, which is a controlled access highway.
Okay, and then you just mentioned that you're going to be, you're contemplating or going to be proceeding with an IHAP?
Yes, I think the next part of the process would be I need to receive in writing from the MTO that that is a controlled access highway, in which we need to verify through our internal lawyers and then proceed with the IHAMP from there.
All right, do we have to wait to get something from the ministry? Can we not proceed with the IHAP itself?
I'm in current conversations with the ministry as of right now. I have a contact that I've established through the MTO, and I'm going to be prepared to receive that letter from them.
Okay, Mr. McQueen?
Thank you. Through the you, Mr. Mayor. Just to bring us back to a discussion that we sat in with Ministry of Transportation staff at both AMO and Roma, it was our understanding that the ministry staff was considering a proposal that we brought forward for an emergency access through the block identified in the Spring Creek Estates. And so the change of course has been more recent. So what Mr. Peasel is saying is true. But I think we should be readdressing this as part of our Roma delegation coming up in January with the Ministry of Transportation, because I feel like we've gotten different responses from the Ministry of Transportation respectfully, and would like to maybe get further clarification about why we were maybe steered away from that IHAMP process as recently as last year.
So I'd be concerned about timelines, because I think that there's been a lot of time that's gone by where things that could have been done haven't been done, and I think that puts us in a bit of a predicament in terms of the developer wanting to proceed, the length of time that we put this access point between a road and something else. So I don't know that we've got until January not to be doing something. So I think that there should be some urgency placed on this so that we can try to move this forward. In terms of the IHAMP, Councillor Noyes has a notice of motion that she's going to bring. It may not ultimately be necessary, but it's something we're going to put on the floor so that we understand that there's some need to move this forward. I know that you're new in the position there, Mr. Peasel, but in the past you've done wonderful work, and so we're expecting nothing less than wonderful work. Okay. Councillor, so is there anyone else that has any other new business or inquiries? If not, then there is no closed session this evening. There are no items in closed session. Councillor Lewis, you've got closed session? Yeah, okay. Councillor Lewis, you had a motion on the floor, but that it had been deferred, but my understanding is you may be withdrawing that?
Yes, I did communicate with the Ridgeway, or Crystal Beach BIA. I would still like to leave it on until I've finished my discussions with staff, but...
Okay, so we're deferring it to December the 15th?
Correct, with the intent of it likely being removed.
Yep, okay, perfect. Notices of motion, Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor. That the council, my notice of motion is that the council compel the town staff to launch an IHAP with the MTO for a third access into Douglastown.
Okay, and that's going to be returnable December the 15th?
Yes.
And Councillor Christensen, you had a notice of motion.
Yes, Your Worship. I will be making a motion at the next council meeting that the main access road into the proposed subdivision at 2649 Stevensville Road in Stevensville be named after Dr. Alan Vincent, who was a primary care physician, and my motion will include the rationale. He served the community for many years.
Okay, and that's December 15th as well. Are there any others? Then we'll move to consideration of bylaws. And are there any bylaws that anyone wishes removed from the package? If not, Councillor Flagg, would you proceed with first and second reading of the bylaw package?
Absolutely, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. The bylaw package containing 91-2025 to designate 451 Niagara Boulevard as being of cultural heritage value or interest. 92-2025 to exempt a certain block of Plan 59M519 from part lot control 374 Bassett Avenue, Block 67, Harbortown Subdivision, 800-460, Ontario Limited, and 93-2025 to remove part lot control from Beachwalk Crescent and Loganberry Court, part of lots 32, 33, 34, 36, 37, and lot 35, Jetmar Subdivision, Mars Homes, Crystal Beach, Inc., are given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That is carried. Those bylaws are on the floor for questions or comments. Councillor Noyes.
I'm just wanting to be refreshed. Is the 451 Niagara Boulevard, the owner of that property is all for this, yes?
That's right, yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question. I should have asked the lawyer this. The part lot control bylaws, which are essentially creating new lots, these are being done by part lot control. The bylaw that approves them expires after a year. So even if the new lot is created and a building put on top of it, once that bylaw expires and Section 50, subsection 5 of the Planning Act applies to those lands, what's the status of the parcel on which those houses is situated? I don't know whether I should have had the lawyer here, and I should have spoken to the lawyer if I'd had a chance, but I didn't, because I'm just wondering why a severance wouldn't have been granted, which is once a severance, always a severance. Phil's behind us. Oh, hey, there we go. Perfect. Did you hear my opining? I'm feeling much better that you're here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Did you get the gist of what I'm asking?
I did, and off the top of my head, this isn't something that I think I could answer.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, it's something that I would probably require a little bit of time to check the Planning Act and maybe some other guidelines, but I can take it back.
Yeah, and I don't think it hurts for the bylaws to be passed, because if you say, no, these are fine, once the conveyance is made, that feeds the title. That's fine. But if I'm right, then I suppose there may be some other steps that can be taken. In any event, if you wouldn't mind clarifying that. So the concern is, what happens when the 1 year expires and the bylaw comes off? What's the status of the part lot control? Okay. After confusing myself on that, Councillor Noyes, you have third and final reading with respect to the bylaw package.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg that bylaws number 9, 91-2025 to 93-2025 inclusive are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor Christensen, you have first and second reading for the confirmatory bylaw.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that bylaw 94-2025 to confirm the actions of council at its councilling committee meeting held on November 3rd, 2025, and its regular council meeting held on November 17th, 2025, is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor McDermott, you have third and final reading for that bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that bylaw 94-2025 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. We're going to scheduling of meetings now. Councillor Christensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the 18th of November, the Fort Erie Public Library Board will meet at 4:30 p.m. at the Centennial Branch of the Fort Erie Public Library. And on November the 25th at 4 p.m., the Community Healthcare Service Committee is scheduled to meet at Town Hall. Not sure where.
Anyone else? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. On November 19th, the Fort Erie not-for-profit meets, and this time it's going to be at King Street. On December 3rd, there's the traffic coordinating meeting at noon in Committee Room 1. And on December 2nd, there's going to be a business status subcommittee meeting.
What day was the traffic coordinating committee?
December 3rd.
Okay, and any other meetings? And I don't know the answer. If Councillor Dubanow is not here, Councillor Lewis gets to move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's like rolling back the clock 20 years. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council adjourns at 9:34 p.m. to reconvene into regular meeting of council on December the 15th, 2025.
All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. Thank you all. That's a scary proposition. Roll the clock back 20 years.
It's